at 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Good afternoon, Britain. We're taking you live to pictures of Green Park in central London, where a special 41-gun salute will be performed by the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery to mark Queen Camilla's birthday. Queen Camilla turns 78 today, and the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery is what we can see here in Green Park, preparing to fire their salute. In an hour later, the Honourable Artillery Company will fire a 62-gun salute from Tower Wharf at the Tower of London. But to kick things off at midday, it's the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery with their 41-gun Royal Salute, as is tradition, live from Green Park. Well, there are the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. They rode out from Wellington Barracks earlier on this morning. They're performing this first salute in Green Park with 71 horses, pulling 6 First World War-era 13-pounder field guns. And that, the royal salute for the Queen's 78th birthday.
Yes, and if you don't know Green Park, very close by Buckingham Palace, 78 years old Queen Camilla is today. So there's the celebration. And at 1 o'clock, there'll be another gun salute to mark the special day in the royal calendar.
But back now to our regular programming. Nigel Farage is calling for the immediate freeze of all immigration into Britain.
Yes, in a piece for the Daily Mail, Nigel Farage writes that the UK needs to send a clear message that they are not a soft-touch destination, or at least Britain is not a soft-touch destination.
Well, he adds that we shouldn't subscribe to the narrative that mass migration has been a net benefit to the country.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a change. It's a little bit of a hardening, a strengthening of their approach to immigration, I would say. We're joined now by the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, on this. Richard, there's so much to talk about today, as ever. But this is a very interesting piece from Nigel Farage in the Daily Mail. I think it came out yesterday, where essentially he's calling for an immediate freeze on all immigration and for all illegal migrants to be deported. Legal migration will pause, and when it does resume, it will only be the world's top doctors, lawyers and entrepreneurs who will be allowed in, and in very small numbers. This is a strengthening of the policy, is it not, Richard?
Well, good afternoon. Yes, I mean, Nigel and all of us have been talking about our concerns over immigration for many, many months. We've talked about removing all of those who are here illegally. The issue is, of course, actually finding people. And with regard to immigration, legal immigration, there is a major crisis going on, typified by the scandal of the Afghanistan super injunction. We still don't know whether those 18 to 20,000 have or have not been included in the legal numbers. But I think almost everybody agrees that the numbers are completely out of control, and we need to have a proper pause so that we can, frankly, catch up, work out who should be here, who shouldn't be here. What we do know, and the OBR have confirmed it, is that many people on low wages who come to the UK never contribute more than they take out. And what we also know is that many people who come legally and then claim benefits, that's now costing, give or take, £1 billion a month. So it's quite right that we reaffirm that we will stop this nonsense.
Because it's a big promise to the electorate, isn't it, ahead of the election in what, 3-4 years' time, to deport all illegal immigrants. Is that something that can feasibly occur, Richard?
Well, as I just touched on, the issue is finding people, but I think that we need to, for example, work incredibly closely with many of the fast food delivery companies who allow essentially sort of substitute accounts where people pay £50 a week to rent a fast food delivery account. Almost all of those are illegal workers. So, yeah, we've got to find these people, and then we've got to say, you can't stay here illegally. And that will take time, obviously. But the rules are the rules. And we want smart legal immigration, not mass illegal immigration or mass low-skilled immigration that suppresses wages, reduces productivity and depresses economic growth per person.
Of course, it was here on this channel that Nigel Farage said only a couple of months ago that Reform would not be pursuing a mass deportation policy, saying it was impossible, so the party simply wouldn't even go there. A lot of people might be raising a slight eyebrow at the shift in tone now, because that clip appeared in a Conservative Party attack ad only earlier this week. Is this a Reform Party response to that Tory attack?
Oh, listen, I love it when the Tory Party jealously talk about us. It's great. Look, the reality is that we've always had the view that people shouldn't be allowed to stay here illegally. Equally, when people are looking for sort of clickbait headlines to attack us, we'll just quietly and smartly duck that. But the simple reality is that when we find illegal people, whoever's in government, they should be removed. At the moment, we've got a system partly driven by this ludicrous obsession with the ECHR that tribunal judges have, where even when you find here people illegally, you can't remove them. They can just appeal and appeal. This has all got to stop. We've got to leave the ECHR. We've got to find people who are here illegally, and we've got to remove them.
Just to clarify for our viewers and listeners, Richard, so we've gone from net zero immigration to now a pause on all legal migration. Until when Until when?
Frankly, until we can work out what is going on, what are the true numbers. We've learned this week, for example, there are tens of thousands of people that apparently haven't been in the numbers because it's been hidden from us by a super injunction. The truth is, I don't think we know. How many other super injunctions are out there about immigration numbers, for example? We don't know. I might be wrong. All I'm saying is, and what Nigel is saying is, we've got to work out what is truly going on, because this situation is out of control.
Are you really saying that a $1 trillion plus company like Apple can't bring in a senior engineer under your system?
It's billions of pounds, and it's out of control, and we've got to sort it out.
Wouldn't a salary threshold just fix this, though? Why a freeze on everything? Are you really saying that a giant tech company can't bring in someone on $1 million plus a year under your freeze?
Literally, Nigel said, and we've said, smart immigration, highly skilled, highly qualified, such as doctors, such as engineers, that's fine.
But that's not a freeze.
Across the board, sorry?
That's not a freeze if you're bringing in some people.
That's called smart immigration, as opposed to what we've got at the moment, which is completely out of control.
Well, Richard, now you've confused me. Is this a freeze or is this smart immigration?
It's both, and that's what the British people want. They are furious with what's going on at the moment. They want a complete sort of pause so we can work out what are the true numbers, what is really going on illegally and what is really going on legally. And as we sit here today, and the lessons we've learned this week, frankly, none of us know the reality. And until we know the reality, we've got to get a grip with it.
So the freeze is for a time-limited period, and then you switch to this new system of smart immigration?
Well, you say new, Tom. We've been talking about this literally for about 2 years. I've talked about smart immigration. So there's nothing new about it.
It's changed a bit, Richard. It's changed from net zero, which would mean people still coming in, and then it's moved to a freeze. So that is a strengthening of the policy. But I must ask you, Richard...
You obviously have to adapt to the situations as it occurs, and when you're told new information that previously we were super injuncted from being allowed to know.
Well, on that, has your position and some of the other Reform MPs' position changed a little bit over the years? Because a tweet of yours resurfaced from 2021 where you were saying that brave Afghans who helped us and their families should be settled in the UK. We must protect them. Simple. No ifs, no buts is what you said.
My position is completely clear.
Fast forward to now, you say that there could be sex offenders, terrorists, criminals, etc. This is a scandal. Tories and Labour lied and covered up the arrival of these people with no checks, etc. But you were willing to have people over here.
No, I'm completely consistent. The key word there is brave. Those brave Afghan soldiers who fought alongside our own special forces, clearly that is what I was talking about at the time, and I stand by that. But the tens of thousands of chancers who are jumping on the bandwagon and coming to the UK, that is completely unacceptable. And regrettably, the evidence is now there that for example, Afghan nationals are the highest of those on who have committed sex offence crimes per capita. So, we have to respond to the situation as it presents itself. But I stand by what I said. The key word is brave.
It does sound like it might be a retrospective conditional, but let's take you at your word and you say that you only wanted the brave ones to come across.
There's nothing retrospective about it. I'm absolutely 110% consistent.
OK, let's take you at your word for the moment and say you only wanted those who were brave, who fought alongside the Brits to come over to the UK. How do you determine who the brave ones were and who the cowardly ones were?
It's very simple. You vet them and you check them, and that's what the MOD completely failed to do. They just
that's what the ARAP scheme was there for.
Say again?
That's what the ARAP scheme was designed for. Not everyone who fought alongside Britain...
It doesn't matter what you call the scheme, Tom. It doesn't matter what you call it. What you need to have is proper vetting, proper checks, so that only soldiers and translators who are fighting alongside or working directly alongside special forces, for example, those are the ones. And as I understand, that's about 12 to 1,500. It's a pretty modest number. And I don't think the British people would have any problem with that.
It's just because you could say that is precisely what the previous government also said. I mean, the reason why this leak of this list became such a hot-button political topic was because there were tens of thousands of Afghans who were trying to get on this selective scheme called ARAP, which stands for the Afghan Relocation and Assistance Policy. It was a selective scheme that was only picking those who the government decreed or the MOD decreed to have the most right to come here. Lots of people who happened to work a bit for the British didn't get on that scheme.
I don't think anybody would consider 20 to 30,000 people as being selective. 1,200 people who fought alongside our special forces, that is selective and deserving. Obviously, that's what I was referring to when I used the word brave. It's not rocket science.
OK, well, let's move on to what you're talking about today is renewables as well. And you've written a letter which one could say is a little threatening, essentially saying if you get into power, there won't be any green energy subsidies, and essentially you shouldn't even try. What exactly are you saying, Richard?
Well, once again, I'm being completely consistent. For years, I've said that we should scrap net zero, which I have tweaked to call it net stupid zero. And so we're just saying to the potential investors, in the offshore wind farm potential renewables, there's a new round of bidding going on over the next few weeks. There is political peril. If you want to invest your money there, recognise that Reform UK is leading in the polls. If there was an election tomorrow, we would win it by a landslide. We'd scrap net zero. And the British people, there is no democratic mandate to cover counties like Lincolnshire with 150 square miles of solar panels.
Isn't that a bit negative, though? Don't you want people to be investing in British business, British industry?
There is nothing negative about stopping dangerous battery energy storage systems that produce toxic fumes when they catch fire, that cannot be put out, that fire chiefs now admit they cannot put out, and have to stand by and watch. There is nothing negative about that. That is protecting safety.
Can't we have it all, Richard? Can't we have it all? Can't we have wind farms? Can't we have solar panels? Can't we have battery packs and also fossil fuels?
No, I tell you what the British people want. We want cheap electricity like we had in the 80s and 90s when, guess what, the economy was growing at 2.5% to 3.5% a year. We've now got the most expensive electricity in the developed world directly because of net stupid zero and the higher amount of
Richard,
renewable
I'm sure a lot of
capacity.
people completely agree with your position on subsidies. I think a lot of people can see that subsidising this sort of stuff is clearly a retrograde step. It's making our bills more expensive. But then you look at the parts of the world that have the cheapest energy, places like Texas and places like China. They're not picking one form of energy above another. They are going all in. Texas has more wind farms and more solar farms than any other state in the United States. But it's also got the most natural gas extraction sites too. They're not picking and choosing. They're going for everything. So why do you seem to want to ban the new technology and only go for the oil and gas? Surely a Chinese-Texan all-in strategy is how you get cheap bills.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for agreeing with my position, which is scrap the subsidies. It's not rocket science, it's basic common sense.
But you're saying you should ban the battery storage and not cover the land in solar farms. If a farmer wants to install solar farms...
Because, Tom, don't confuse the messaging. You know, I know you're getting confused here. It's actually very simple, right? Ban the subsidies. Yes, we like technology. Why is gas a third of the price in the US compared to the UK? Because they use their shale gas. We've got loads of our own energy treasure. Let's extract it, let's use it. The difference with battery storage systems is they are dangerous. And just in January this year,
well, now
there was
you're
a
switching
major fire.
message.
Say again?
Now you're switching message. You started talking about the subsidies, which I think everyone can understand, but now you're saying that the technology is dangerous.
Well, battery energy storage systems are dangerous. When they catch fire, they produce toxic fumes that require people to be evacuated. As we saw in California earlier this year, we've had 3 battery storage system fires in the UK this year already. And all of these solar farms that are now planned, they've all got battery storage systems alongside them that the fire brigade, by their own admission, cannot put out. And the toxins, when those things catch fire, contaminate the land as well. It's a scandal, it's a cover-up, and we're exposing
OK, well, let's end on the batteries. But just one last question. I'm sure you've seen 16 and 17-year-olds, children getting the vote. I know that actually 20% of them might put their cross in your box, Richard, for the Reform Party. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Do you support it? Do you think the youngsters will vote for Reform?
I've literally rushed from the chamber to speak to you now, where I said that we were against 16 and 17-year-olds having the vote. Most of them are still at school or college. And I noticed that the youngsters themselves are split down the middle as to whether or not they should have the vote. yes, the polling shows that we might get 20%, Labour might get 30%. It's just wrong. It's the wrong policy, and we should keep it where it is at 18. And we're doing very well from the 18 to 24-year-olds. That's great. But let's just, what works, what we know is successful, let's stick to it.
That is an interesting point. Just while we have you have just rushed from the chamber because the Labour Party seems to be a bit confused over what it thinks 16 and 17-year-olds should be allowed to do. I understand that the minister responsible has said that 16-year-olds will be allowed to vote, but won't be allowed to stand to become MPs. Also, the government hasn't been saying that it will change any of its policy on the drinking age, the smoking age, the gambling age, the age at which you can watch online pornography.
They probably want that to be 40.
I mean, all of these things seem relatively inconsistent. I've heard some members of Parliament might be thinking about putting forward amendments to other bills to lower the age if the voting age lowers as well. Is that sort of...
Maybe it's just as simple as the fact that it's gerrymandering because they think they'll get more votes and they want to leave everything else at the age of 18. Look, I think most sensible people realise it's a bit daft, and so let's just keep it at 18 and let's see. But the government they've said they're going to bring in a bill before the next election. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, hard to take away these rights once they're there. Richard Tice, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for hanging on the line for a little while with us. Thank you there. Richard Tice, Deputy Leader of the Reform Party. So there you go.
Wide-ranging interview there. I do want to get your thoughts on votes at 16. GBnews.com/your say is the way to get involved in that discussion. We're talking about it throughout the programme.
It absolutely is. I mean, I think it is just political gerrymandering, isn't it, really? I mean, it must be. It must be. But anyway, there is still time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize. It's an incredible £54,321. Here are the details.
We're here at Down Hall in Essex to enjoy the finer things in life. And it's your chance to win £54,321 in cash. It's like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account each week for a whole year, which means that you'd be able to indulge in treats whenever you wanted to. That extra cash each week could send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing this year to enable you to sit back, relax and do nothing. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming on today's show, including this. You want to stay attuned for it.
Yes, indeed. Well, the French have been accused of enabling small boat migrants crossing the English Channel. We're about to show you a video that certainly seems to suggest that may be the case.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Front page of the Times today says exercise proves the best therapy for keeping cancer at bay. Let's get the views of Tim Vincent.
It's quite an exciting trial, this. There's new findings every single day, isn't there? But I think this has been done over many years by a lot of people. And it actually says, what you'd assume would be the case is that if you exercise, then it keeps your health in a better condition and will keep cancer from returning. measurably, notably.
Yeah.
So I think it's 30-something%. And this is on people that have had cancer and then are encouraged to exercise. And there's many doctors over the years have said, you know, not quite sure. If you feel like you can exercise, then exercise. They're now saying you should exercise as soon as you feel good enough.
This just
and
makes
this
me,
will make a big difference.
This makes me feel awful because I would have been pro-exercise, except I can't move. I'm in a wheelchair now, and I can't put on the right trainers, I can't change, I can't go to the showers, I can't do things. It's just, I can't stand up. So there are a lot of people who are incapable of exercising, and therefore, rightly so, we see their increase of cancer growing.
Absolutely, and that's an issue that everybody's going to face, and you're obviously in a really difficult position. Any exercise, I think, is going to help, especially for these people that have had cancer once and can get out there. And it's very isolating as well, exercise.
So you're actually saying, if you're in redemption from cancer or whatever, you could keep it at bay by exercising.
It's actually better than a pill.
Yeah.
The results are actually better than a pill.
I think it's 36%, isn't it, for exercise?
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 22 minutes past midday. Now, we promised before the break that we'd bring you some breaking news. So here is the man himself, Mark White, with that breaking news.
Well, yes, there has been a lot of commentary and allegations that have been made, accusations against the French, that they are enabling small boat crossings in the English Channel by escorting these small boats safely through the Channel to UK waters. But not just that, now handing out life jackets as well. Well, there's been a further evolution of this, what some would say is an enabling process. Take a look at this video now. So you can see there this chap with a bottle of water, and that's the French lifeboat from Berck. And they're all giving the thumbs up, reaching out. They're being handed bottles of water by the French. Now, those that say that effectively what is happening in the English Channel, with the fact that boats are allowed to go out into the Channel unhindered, they're not pushed back to the beaches, they are under escort from the French from the moment they hit the water right until they're safely in UK water, the fact that life jackets are handed to these migrants that don't have them, and the fact that they're even handing out bottles of water to people who are on a journey of 4 or 5 hours. Why on earth do they need to be doing that? Many people will argue. And is this tantamount to enabling this process in the Channel? So we've just got that video. We'll expect, I'm sure, some political reaction to that from Nigel Farage and others in the hours ahead, because they've had a lot to say on this issue of whether migrants are being enabled in their crossings.
Well, it's certainly making it more comfortable, isn't it? Now, of course, charities who work will say, well, it would be inhumane not to, you know, give the migrants water. It's a hot day. They need to, you know, they might be thirsty. But don't see it that way?
Well, it's certainly an argument, you're right, that those who are on the side of migrants, like NGOs and charities, will certainly make. But the counter argument is that what is happening in the English Channel is that these migrants are being enabled on that journey by the assistance that they're getting from the French. Now, in terms of those crossing the Channel, we've got some more video we can show you. This is from Gravelines, the beach at Gravelines near Dunkirk. And this is incredible video as well, that taken just this morning. You can see a group, must be about 70 or so, that are on the beach there, there for some time. And the reason that they're now running and wading into the water en masse is because a migrant boat is soon to appear on the horizon for them to get to, a so-called taxi boat that has just appeared from one of the sort of rivers nearby to Gravelines. This is a tactic that they employ now on a daily basis, these taxi boats, knowing that the French will not intervene. And there they are, they're in water. It's still relatively shallow. It's just about waist height there. But there's no effort by the French, much promised effort, to push that boat back as more and more people clamber on board the boat. And it's absolutely full to overflowing. Not safe, of course, to make that journey to the UK. And look, here's the French. And what are they doing? They're handing out more life jackets
on your way
to these migrants. Again, this process that many have criticised as enabling. They're right up alongside that boat, but are they pushing the boat back? No, they're not pushing the boat back. They're giving life jackets out to these migrants.
And they know it's perfectly safe because those people have just been standing in that water.
Yeah.
And it's hard to view that footage as anything other than facilitation from the French authorities, thinking, you know what, good stuff. These people are leaving France, so we can push them their way to the UK.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the most damning videos you've shown us in the last however long.
Yeah.
You're seeing it all there,
we
completely
want to show
clear.
You a few more videos.
Oh, please do.
That speaks to the issue around how pivotal Germany is to the people smuggling business and how the Germans have been asked, urged, pleaded with for years to actually change their laws to enable them to go after people smugglers, which they've not done thus far. We're told today that they are going to agree to this, but not for another 6 months. You know, we've waited since 2018 for a change in the law. That's not happened yet, and it won't happen for another 6 months. So let's show you this video, first of all. This is a video nicely sped up for you. This is in Turkey. And this is a gentleman who has received a small boat made in the back streets of China, in backstreet factories. They're shipped by land to Turkey, where they're then inflated here, checked to make sure that they're OK. We can show you the next video now that shows that boat having been assembled, the backboard put on the boat where the engine can be attached to, and that is in a warehouse there before being deflated and then shipped to Germany. Next video we want to show you is here, cans being filled up with petrol, cars being stuffed full of those petrol cans, of the components for these small boats, the boats themselves, life jackets, and this is a convoy. I mean, look at them, all that dangerous fuel that's in these vehicles, and a convoy of about 4 of these vehicles head to France. This is them having now arrived in France from Germany, and all of the life jackets and other parts to build the boat are handed out to the migrants who are waiting for them in a housing estate along the French coast.
Mark, an extraordinary series of videos there. I hope we'll speak to you a little bit later in the programme with some more on that. But we've got to jump to Downing Street now because it all ties together. Those boats coming from Germany, those videos that we've just seen in Germany, appearing in Downing Street this afternoon will be the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. But to speak to us now is Christopher Hope, our political editor, live from Downing Street. Chris, what can you tell us?
That's right, he's about to arrive here shortly, Chancellor Merz. I haven't been able to approach number 10 about the videos that Mark White's got there, but we will see a deal being signed today between Keir Starmer, the UK PM, of course, with Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, to further make it easier for German authorities to go after the storage of these boats in Germany. Many of them are stored in Germany in warehouses, and they're brought to the coast of northern France and then sent, of course, with migrants in them across the Channel. So that's being agreed today. Also, further news on more coach parties full of school children to go to and fro between the UK and Germany to improve linguistic, cultural and academic experiences for all of our children between the two countries. And also a defence investment being announced in a plant in Swindon. But before he gets here, just briefly on other lines from the briefing just now with the PM's deputy official spokesman, policeman. Votes at 16 was raised. The government says that from the next election, 16-year-olds can vote with their bank cards. They're making it wider to prove who you are. No need for a driver's license, no need for a passport. Simply a bank card will be enough to get you to vote as a 16-year-old at the next election. The government says if you can work, pay tax, serve in the armed forces, then why can't you vote? They're saying they're delivering on a manifesto pledge here, and there'll be a wider consultation to be debated in Parliament from this September. There's also plans to reform who can give money to our politics here. Some would call it the Elon Musk law, but under these changes announced today from the government, a new company, a foreign individual who can't vote here, can't donate to parties in this country. And of course, we remember vividly back in December last year, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, was mooted as giving a donation to Reform UK. Well, these changes today will make that a lot harder, although Number 10 says it's not about any individual, of course. The government also wishes the Lionesses best tonight in their crucial Euros quarter-final match.
Now with Keir Starmer's EU reset deal, the Telegraph is reporting that we may well have to make financial contributions for the first time in a long time as the price for this to the various departments, presumably, that are involved, whether it's food standards or being involved in the carbon market rules and things. All this closening of relations might end up costing us, Christopher.
Well, that's right. All that might emerge from this bilateral meeting. So the PM will be going into the famous Black Door in about 10 minutes with Chancellor Merz. They'll then sit down, have lunch, have what they call a bilateral, and then brief us on what's agreed later at a press conference in Hertfordshire. So we'll ask then, is there more charges here? We've asked in the briefing just now whether the issue of freedom of movement for 18 to 30-year-olds might come up. We know, of course, that some senior figures in Germany are keen to try and allow that. We think that we're told there are no plans for that in the past from this government. That might change today as well. So that the issue of getting closer and closer to the European Union since that Brexit vote in 2016, that hasn't gone away, Emily.
Well, Christopher, while we have you, and do stay with us until we actually see the Chancellor, but this does seem to be a very curious priority for the government with regard to the voting age being lowered at a time when the economy is, frankly, going south, not north, when the government's polling is so low, when inflation is going up, employment is going down. It just seems a very strange thing for the government to be spending time and energy on.
I mean, governments can do many things at once, Tom. Yes, all those things are true. And, of course, they did say about those jobless figures today, they say that there's 380,000 more people in work since July last year when they came in. They say, the government says this, that employment is up, inactivity is down. And they say they're making sure that work pays and there's more to do. They want to reform job centres to allow people with jobs to go into job centres and find a new job. That can't happen at the moment under the way they're set up. And also on those job losses at Jaguar Land Rover, some would say a bit embarrassing personally for the Prime Minister, but given he negotiated that trade deal with those people at JLR in mind, because of course they would have suffered from those big tariffs on car makers. Number 10 says these are 500 jobs going in management, not on the shop floor, and it's a voluntary redundancy scheme. But of course they say the trade deal is about jobs saved and it's not job done. So that's the approach for jobs. But you are right. I mean, the government did win the election last year with a huge majority on giving votes to 16. We saw it in Scotland. It wasn't a case at the EU referendum back in 2016. It's not entirely clear on polling who this will benefit. The feeling is Labour might benefit. Younger people tend to be more pro-Labour and they get more conservative or right-wing as they get older. We'll see how that plays out. But what I think is interesting about this is that at the next election, you will see a lot more policies aimed at young people. They're getting the vote, these 16, 17-year-olds. What that means is 12-year-olds now can vote in the election in 2028 or 2029. I should tell you the gates are open in Downing Street. Tom and Emily, we're expecting Friedrich Merz to arrive very, very shortly. When he gets here, I'll duck out the way. But on that point there, they fought that election on the issue of giving votes to 16, 17-year-olds. That means any parent watching now with a 12-year-old, their child has a vote on the next government of this country.
Well, Christopher, I'm looking forward to seeing this motorcade rolling as it does. This is quite a low-key and functional visit, is it not?
It is, yeah. I mean, last year it's not a state visit like last week with Emmanuel Macron. This is a visit simply a PM to Chancellor visit. Of course, there's a German president. I might duck out the way now, Tom, Emily, because here comes the German Chancellor.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Christopher Hope, for being there live on Downing Street, of course, as the newly elected German Chancellor rolls in through those famous gates at the top of Downing Street there. Chancellor Merz, of course, replaced a close friend of Keir Starmer, the previous Chancellor Scholz, who had been an ally of Starmer both in opposition and in government. Merz now coming from the more conservative side of German politics. It will be interesting to see how these two men develop their relationship. But
yes, they had a very close relationship, didn't they, Keir Starmer and Scholz,
Olaf Scholz,
the former Chancellor. So it'll be interesting, yes, to see if they
But of course they have met. They did travel together to Ukraine on a train. There was a funny anecdote about how how Merz was at one end of the train, Keir Starmer was at the other end of the train, and Macron was in the middle. And apparently Keir Starmer made some sort of joke about how he always had to go through the French to get to the Germans.
Chortle, chortle, chortle. There they are.
Chancellor Merz, will you soften Brexit? Chancellor Merz, will you bring back freedom of movement for young people? Do you want to soften Brexit, Mr. Merz? Sir Keir Starmer, will you betray Brexit with these talks? Will you help stop the boats, Mr. Merz?
Some tremendous shouting there from you, Christopher Hope. A very long walk. The Prime Minister sometimes just steps out the door to greet someone. He walked all the way down there to meet Merz. A very deliberate walk for the cameras of the world's press.
That's right, they're off now for lunch, Tom and Emily, lunch of fish and or pasta, whichever you choose. You're vegetarian or pescatarian, you've got a choice there, and we'll see how that plays out, those talks. I think, of course, this is all about this Prime Minister's efforts to get closer to our European allies, this idea that France last week, Germany this week, they're trying to pick off the big beasts in the European Union. A deal, and that deal on coach parties is so interesting. That deal was agreed previously. We're seeing David Lammy arrive here, Tom and Emily. I'm going to move away from the camera. Mr. Lammy, are you planning to sell out Brexit? If you heard that, I said to David Lammy, will you try and sell out Brexit? Sir David Lammy laughed and said, this is our German friend. So that shows how I think the tone is different now with our politics. So it's always worth shouting questions. I know it might seem rude to viewers and listeners of GB News, but that's the best way we can get a clear answer on what the politicians are thinking. But this is all about...
Sorry, yes, every now and again you do actually get a response there. So not from the Prime Minister or from Friedrich Merz, but from David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary. So there you go, worthwhile.
Always worthwhile. I know it might seem strange to shout from a pavement, but our legal position as journalists is we can stand on the pavement in Downing Street and then we can shout questions at our politicians to try and inform what's going on. And what is going on is this government is getting closer to senior players on the European Union. It's a process, I think, not an end point. That Lancaster House agreement back in May, that's the beginning of a process. What's next? We'll find out later in the press conference live on GB News at 3:30, but it could include more talks about allowing freedom of movement between 18 and 30-year-olds. And back on that coach parties issue, a few years ago, the UK agreed with France to allow these coach parties of school children to go to and fro between France and the UK and not go to onerous checks. That will be agreed with Germany. Gradually, slowly, we're tiptoeing back into a much closer relationship with the European Union.
Yes, absolutely we are. Christopher Hope, thank you very much, our political editor outside Downing Street. Do pop back up if anything happens with regards to this trip. It's interesting, Keir Starmer has only put out on his Twitter in relation to this visit about the supply of small boats. So that's what he's trying to get out there, that this is all about tackling illegal immigration.
But is there more to it? Let's speak to the chief political commentator at The Independent, John Rentoul. John, an interesting relationship blossoming between Keir Starmer and Friedrich Merz, which is interesting because, of course, he was so close with Olaf Scholz.
Indeed, and it does suggest that Keir Starmer's quite good at this international relations business. I mean, he did actually manage to secure an agreement, a returns agreement with France, with Emmanuel Macron, which
Of sorts. Come on, John, that wasn't a good agreement.
No, it may not have been good, but it was impossible. I mean, to get any kind of return, get the French to agree to any kind of returns, I thought was impossible. So give him credit for achieving the impossible, even if you don't think it's going to work.
We've just seen, John Rentoul, we've just seen live footage today from our Home and Security editor of the French authorities very much helping the migrants on their way, John. Come on.
Absolutely. No, I thought that was really, really interesting footage and absolutely telling, and confirms what we've always known, which is that the French have no real interest in stopping this. But if we can persuade them to accept returns, and if we can then scale that up, I know that those are two very big ifs, then there would be no point to people trying to make that journey. And that is actually in the interest of the French people as well. I mean, they don't want these.
Do you think, John,
tent cities and shanty camps?
Keir Starmer's problem on the international stage is he's very deferential, don't you think?
Well, yeah, but if it gets,
he doesn't seem to play
results,
hardball with these guys.
Well, no, but if it gets results, then deferential is good for me.
Well,
you know, I mean,
I'm suggesting that it doesn't get the right results, John.
Well, no, you can't say that. I mean, he got an agreement with Donald Trump that nobody thought he could get, and that other countries did not get, and that was in our national interest. So if he can do that, all well and good. But I fully accept that the situation on small boats is totally unacceptable, and you need to change the fundamental incentives to this, and having some sort of agreement with Germany that they'll try and prevent these boats going from Germany to the French coast. I mean, that is just absurd.
It's a nonsense.
You've got to deal with it. You've got to deal with it at source, which is you've got to make it not worth people trying to make the journey.
Yeah. It's silly to try and ban the concept of a boat when the problem is legal and in the channel, that we escort them all the way to the United Kingdom when they're there, not that the boats exist in the first place. But, John, do you get the sense that this is a Prime Minister who much prefers wining and dining with Emmanuel Macron and Chancellor Merz than he does with his own MPs? Because yesterday he sacked 4 of them. He's already sacked, I think it's around 24 now since the election, or near enough. I mean, with the mass expulsions and resignations and all the rest of it. I mean, he seems to not really have a grip on his own party. Is that why he perhaps likes to retreat to the international?
Well, no, on the contrary, I think suspending those 4 MPs shows that he does have a grip on his party, and I think that will be a warning to the rebels not to push their luck. I mean, they were saying, oh well, you know, the safety in numbers, and he can't sack us all, and yet 4 of them have been sacked, and they're probably not going to come back. So,
John, does it not look a little authoritarian, the sort of classic socialist authoritarianism? We need to get rid of anyone who goes against the party leader, John.
I mean, no, that's absurd. Boris Johnson got rid of far more people.
On a confidence motion, John. Boris Johnson got rid of 20-odd on a confidence motion. That is just like John Major did over the Maastricht rebels. But this is the first time in, I think, post-war history that a Prime Minister has got rid of people because they've been persistent rebels. Not on a confidence motion.
Well, that shows that he's more in command of his party than Boris Johnson and John Major. Well, that's fine. Absolutely sensible. But you're quite right. He does rather prefer, I suspect, international negotiations where he is quite good at securing deals, whatever you think of them.
John, you don't agree with the 16 and 17-year-olds getting the vote, do you, John?
No, I don't. I agree with Tom on that one.
I mean, it is extraordinary because we do hear this argument from the government repeatedly that 16-year-olds can pay tax.
How many? How many do?
But here's the thing. There is no statute at all that says 16 is the age at which you pay tax.
No.
You can pay tax. If you're a 3-year-old child actor, you pay income tax.
You can, yeah.
And if you're a 12-year-old who buys a Freddo frog, you pay VAT. I mean, I don't understand on what metric 16 has suddenly been decided to be the age at which we're mature enough to vote, but not mature enough to fall outside the scope of the
Also,
online harms bill.
should we take the vote away from those who don't pay any tax who are adults by that logic, John?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, yes, there are arguments for votes at 16, and I'm sympathetic to some of them. I mean, yeah, you know, there are a lot of 16-year-olds who, you know, would be capable of taking part in politics, and I don't see why you shouldn't encourage them and engage them in politics. But you can't make the argument that voting is the same as everything else, because everything else, the ages are moving upwards, and you know, you can't buy super glue until you're 18. You can't, you can't buy cigarettes. Gosh. You can't buy fireworks. Yeah. Everything else, you know, Labour's authoritarian instincts are to take to push the age up and say no, you can't do that at 16. So
even the school leaving age, which used to be 16. Has shot up to 18. You have to be in an apprenticeship or at school. That was a change under Red Bulls in 2008.
I don't think there's any point trying to make any logic of this. I mean, it's clearly a political decision. But John Rentoul,
I think that's... Sorry, yeah, but I think that's the worst thing about it, is that the Labour Party thinks it gives them a political advantage, and I think that's wrong.
All right,
John Rentoul, thanks indeed for joining us.
Good stuff, covering a lot as ever. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the weather.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Lots of hot, strong sunshine around the Mediterranean at the moment. A few showers are possible in Sicily and inland over Turkey. We may just see 1 or 2 showers. Most of the coast here dry and sunny. Much of the Greek islands also dry, fine and sunny. 1 or 2 showers through the spine of Italy, but again, the coast's dry and fine. Northern parts of Spain may see a bit more cloud and a few showers. Quite a brisk wind blowing over the Canaries, but it's going to be hot in Tenerife. Temperatures just dipping a little bit here into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more to come on today's programme.
Yes, we are, of course, going to have all the details as the Prime Minister and Chancellor Merz from Germany sign a deal on defence and migration. Will it be a big step towards closer relations with Germany, and will it help deal with the illegal migration issue?
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Well, Friedrich Merz has just arrived in the United Kingdom for his first trip to London as German Chancellor.
During the visit, he's set to sign a wide-ranging friendship treaty. Yes, they're really calling it a friendship treaty with Keir Starmer, which is part of a broader push to reset the UK's relationship with the EU.
OK, well, joining us now from Hamburg is journalist Rob Hyde. Rob, what did the Germans want out of this visit?
I think there's different things that they want, really. I think the German police has always really been kind of limited in its abilities to do the levels of surveillance and monitoring that the UK or other countries can do because of its data protection laws, which are so incredibly limited. For example, I've spoken with police at Frankfurt who have taken me around an incredibly dangerous area, which is just outside the train station. A lot of the British fans were aware of it during the Euros. It was called Zombieland at one point. And they said basically, in order just to set up CCTV, we have to officially apply for it. We have to have it proved that it's a crime area. It's then erected. The criminals just go around the corner. Then we have to dismantle it and this type of thing. So I think they're looking forward to getting more surveillance and intelligence sent by the EU. They're looking forward to also getting joint flights whereby they together book a flight instead of, for example, Germany having to deport migrants back to Iraq. So
how can we help the Germans with their domestic surveillance? I'm a bit confused, sorry.
Well, I just think the UK has more ability to survey. Its data protection and sort of privacy laws are less limited, and that enables it to do more things. I mean, an awful lot of intelligence tip-offs for the German authorities actually come from the US when it comes to things like terrorism and that type of thing. So the more intelligence that the German authorities can be getting via the UK is going to help them.
Now, of course, Germany's had a bit of a political revolution in the last few months. A very different coalition now governs Germany, and their attitude to everything from military spending to debt has changed. How does that change the relationship with the UK?
I think there's just more desire for a tougher stance. And I think before, given Brexit and the fact that that Germany is very pro-EU generally, I think there was a bit of annoyance with the UK and what it had done in terms of Brexit. But now you see really the mood changing. So as you alluded to, the AfD is now very strong. It's roughly about 24.1%.
Yeah, and that can really shift things. Rob, I'm afraid we have run to the end of the hour, but thanks so much for joining us, Rob Hyde. They're live in Germany.
OK, we've got lots more coming up. Yes, the biggest change to UK democracy. Children getting the vote, 16 to 17-year-olds. What do you make of it? That's next.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's bright today in the far northeast, but elsewhere a lot of cloud and some scattered showers, even some thunderstorms, because we've seen an increase in the humidity and low pressure turn up at the same time. This low moving towards Ireland and bringing some weather fronts with it. Within these weather fronts we've got a lot of cloud and outbreaks of mostly light rain at first, moving through parts of Wales, central England, largely dry to the south, some bright spells appearing. But showers will really get going across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Some thundery downpours here. Chance of some localised flooding because of the intense rain rates. And also a scattered shower or thunderstorm through the Midlands. Very warm though and humid, especially in the south where temperatures will reach the high 20s. Now towards the northeast we keep sunny spells for much of the day and it's a fine evening, apart from Shetland where we do see a lot of cloud cover, but mostly dry. It's in western Scotland where we'll see some heavy rain by evening, and Northern Ireland continues to see some heavy showers and some thunderstorms, most likely those thunderstorms affecting the far north and west. Largely dry across the southern third of the UK with just one or two showers and clear spells into the evening, but naturally with this humid air in place we're going to see a lot of cloud across the UK, some mist and fog around coasts in the west and the south, and outbreaks of rain moving through Scotland, Northern Ireland, West Wales and the southwest. Staying dry towards the southeast, it's mild and muggy for all of us overnight. We do have some brightness across the Midlands, east and southeast England first thing Friday, and it's going to be a hot day in places with temperatures reaching the high 20s and low 30s widely across East Anglia and the southeast. Elsewhere a lot of cloud cover and we've got this unstable air in place, so further showers and thunderstorms, particularly North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England and southern Scotland.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash. So make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, in the past few minutes, Meghan Markle has paid a sweet tribute to Princess Lilibet as she turns 4 today. It comes just a day after the Duchess of Sussex said she'd love to go into business with her daughter in the future.
Well, that's all it is, another money-making effort there. That's to make up for nobody buying her jam. I mean, do you really care if you see a picture of her kid or not? You do, that's it.
I'd like to see her face, to be honest.
I don't. Now, back to Diana, of course, who was a real star and style icon and whatever. And one day I can remember I complimented her on her outfit that she was wearing, and it was the same colour as the outfit you were wearing yesterday.
Bottle green?
No. RUC green, Royal Ulster Constabulary green. As she pointed out to me, she said, yes, RUC green, what do you think? And then she went into a whole, literally, sob story. She started crying about a bomb explosion that had been in Northern Ireland or whatever. She was very, very close, very connected with all of that. But, yeah, so...
And knowledgeable as well, by the sound of things.
She was very knowledgeable, yeah. And then she went on to talk about William and Harry going to school and how that upset her, and they went to boarding school or whatever it is. So we talked about all those things. And I forgot why I was going to tell you that story, but there was some reason. But she was... it was the same colour as what you were wearing yesterday, anyway, the green.
Oh, and she was so lovely by the sounds of things.
She was film star status. I mean, you just saw her in a room and you would go,
Wow.
She's special. Yeah,
Oh.
she's special.
And I think whoever that was speaking in that report there saying, one of the designers, I think it was the designer of the wedding dress, saying it was just clothes or just a dress, but then Diana wore it and then it was something special.
Absolutely.
And it became part of history. And that's exactly what happened.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 17th of July. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
Well, a shocking Ministry of Defence data leak has exposed the identities of Afghans who helped UK forces, and now we find out that suing the UK government could cost the taxpayer up to £1 billion in compensation. The plot thickens.
And the biggest change to British democracy in a generation. Yes, it's the lowering of the voting age all the way down to 16. We ask, should teenagers have a say at the ballot box? Or not just teenagers, but children?
Which is a very special treaty because it's the first of its kind ever, if you can believe it, between our two countries. And I see it very much.
The Prime Minister hosts Germany's new Chancellor today, with the pair expected to sign a landmark treaty to tackle people smuggling gangs and also boost defence ties.
Well, as the Germans stand accused of not doing enough to intervene to stop people smuggling, the French as well are also accused, and we've got new videos showing the French not just handing out life jackets, but now handing out bottled water.
And 4 Labour MPs have been suspended as the Prime Minister tries to assert control. But is his party now more divided than ever?
And 8 babies born in Britain with DNA from 3 people. Yes, it's a groundbreaking bid to prevent inherited disease. But could rewriting embryos cross some kind of ethical line?
And a birthday portrait for the Queen. Yes, we take a look at the new photo marking Queen Camilla's 78th.
It's rather nice. And in other royal news, Prince Harry meets schoolchildren in Angola before visiting the very landmine Princess Diana famously walked through in 1997. Well, there we go. A lot on our plate today. Now, someone's got in touch to say that, do you think the government are doing this 16, 17-year-old voting age stuff to distract from other issues, namely the Afghan resettlement scheme? What do you reckon?
I don't think so.
So if everyone talks about 16 and 17-year-olds getting the vote, they'll forget about, you know, the cost to the taxpayer and the secrecy of this cover-up.
I saw a pretty convincing poll last night that showed by a substantial majority, people think that the government did the right thing over the...
With a very leading question, I must say.
I think the question...
Very leading question.
To some extent...
With no information, really, that would suggest that someone would take the other stance.
Shall we find the question? Because I do think that it is interesting, because sometimes it can feel like you get into a sort of feedback loop and a bubble with regard to what people think. But if we remember back to 2021...
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Am I in a feedback bubble? Am I stuck in my echo chamber, Tom? So I need to broaden my horizons, do I, Tom?
I think sometimes it's easy to get stuck in a bubble, and it's interesting to look at data when it's presented to ourselves by 49% to 20%.
Yes, I've seen the poll as well, and my take was that it was quite a leading question. So you can read out the question.
Let's have a look. It has been revealed that the details of 19,000 Afghan nationals who have worked with British forces was accidentally leaked in 2022. Reporting on the leak was banned while these Afghan nationals were being evacuated to Britain until a judge this week ordered the government to lift the ban. Which of the following best reflects your view? 20% say the government were wrong to keep this breach a secret for this long. It was more important that the public be told, even if it meant more danger to those danger for those Afghan nationals.
That's far too long an answer, right? It gives so many different points within it. Do you understand? It's not a very... I don't think it would give an accurate reflection of public opinion necessarily.
If anything, I think a shorter question might be more leading. But That's the data that we have so far. Maybe there'll be more polls that come out. I just think that if I was a government spin
It doesn't
doctor,
include anything about super injunctions, how long it was kept secret.
Reporting
Doesn't
of
tell
the
you
leak
more
was
about.
banned.
Yes, but it doesn't tell you for how long, who did it, under what circumstances, etc., etc. So I don't think it's a very accurate
It says
poll.
reporting of the leak
But we
was
can agree
banned in
to disagree.
2022
We can
until
see what
this
people
week.
think at home. gbnews.com/USA, but it's your headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. It's just after 1 o'clock. The top story this lunchtime. 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to vote in the general election under sweeping reforms unveiled today. Ministers say the changes will modernise democracy and help bring 9.5 million more people into the electoral system. The plans also include automated voter registration and new accepted IDs, including UK bank cards and digital versions of driving licences. Campaign finance rules will also be tightened to stop foreign interference and shell company donations. It comes after turnout at the last election was just over 59%. That is the lowest in over 2 decades. Sir Keir Starmer and the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz have signed a historic treaty to boost ties on trade, security and migration. Known as the Kensington Treaty, it's the first agreement of its kind between the UK and Germany. It includes new school exchanges and a legal crackdown on smuggling gangs behind small boat crossings. Downing Street says the deal marks a significant step in tackling illegal migration across Europe. It comes as more than 21,000 people have crossed the Channel this year. That's up 54% on the previous 12 months. 4 Labour MPs have been suspended from the party for repeatedly rebelling against the government on welfare reforms. The Prime Minister removed the whip just after Prime Minister's questions this week, meaning they'll now sit as independents in the Commons. One dismissed envoy also says that it was petty and a bit pointless. Another MP called the move ridiculous and vindictive. Downing Street insists it's about stamping out disloyalty before Parliament's summer break. In a pioneering first, 8 babies in the UK have been born using DNA from 3 people to stop deadly genetic diseases from being passed on. The technique replaces faulty mitochondria from the mum's egg with healthy ones from a donor. It means children inherit almost all of their DNA from the parents, but some from another woman. All 8 babies were born free of mitochondrial disease, an incurable condition that can be fatal in infancy. The NHS calls it a game-changer, offering hope to families fighting genetic illness. Britain's jobless rate has hit its highest level in 4 years, rising to now 4.7%. That's in the 3 months to May. It's worse than expected as wage growth has also slowed to 5%, the weakest in nearly 3 years. The Office for National Statistics says the labour market is continuing to weaken, with job vacancies falling for a 3rd year straight. It comes as economic uncertainty and rising business costs pile pressure on employers. Despite the slowdown, pay, though, is still rising faster than inflation, up 1.8% in real terms. Crunch talks are due this week in a bid to stop 5-day strikes by resident doctors in England, set to begin on the 25th of this month. Health Secretary Wes Streeting is meeting the BMA's Resident Doctors Committee today, but tensions are already high after he questioned their credibility as a negotiating partner. The government says there's no more money for pay rises, though talks may address working conditions. The BMA argues doctors need a 29.2% uplift to reverse years of pay erosion. And Manchester United fans were arrested more than any other club supporters last season, with 121 arrests. Almost half of those were at Old Trafford, mostly for public or violent disorder. Overall, football-related arrests dropped 11%, but banning orders hit their highest level in over a decade. West Ham fans still top the list for active banning orders, followed by United and Chelsea. And hate crime incidents at matches hit a record high, up to 420, most linked to race and sexual orientation. Manchester United, not Minchester United, in case I confused you. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you very shortly.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 1. Now to our top story.
Well, there are concerns today that compensation claims over the breach of Afghan's data could be as high as £1 billion. Yes, lawyers, lots of lawyers are working on the case and have allegedly already signed up thousands of these Afghans who've allegedly been impacted.
Well, it includes Afghans who have, as a result of the leak, been granted asylum status here in the United Kingdom.
Well, should we speak to former NATO Commander Rear Admiral Chris Parry on this? Chris, is one thing resettling people in this country, giving them asylum, and quite another when they're then encouraged to seek further compensation from the taxpayer?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's a complete shambles, isn't it? From beginning to end. You know, dare I say it, during the Cold War, if somebody had leaked top secret information, they'd be prosecuted, court-martialed and dealt with. It seems that everybody involved in this scandal, this complete shambles, is going to walk away with it with no accountability whatsoever. And you've seen the bill that is going to take place. It's nearly $7 billion in terms of actually resettling these people. There's clearly been a dispute at the top of government under the last administration with fairly serious figures, heavyweight political figures voicing their concerns. And we've seen government policy determined by emotion rather than intellect here.
Yeah, that's what's being reported, isn't it? That you had the Treasury, the Home Office, the Foreign Office saying, hang on a minute, maybe we shouldn't go down this route of this huge resettlement of thousands of people. And actually, the Defence Ministry, as you say, tugging on emotional arguments, saying, but we need to help these people.
Well, you know, whenever I planned a military operation, we always did a risk assessment on what would happen. And we made decisions based on a balance of risk and basically benefit. And nobody seems to have done this. This is strategic, grand strategic level incompetence. And I have to say, I despise the people involved in this. This is not a world that I recognise as being, you know, run by anybody that I've worked with in the past, either politically or militarily. Everybody should hang their heads in shame. Not only have we lifted the wrong people from Afghanistan, we're now going to fork out huge amounts of money. And frankly, you know, if I'm honest, if you've got asylum in this country, you shouldn't really be suing this country for getting you out.
That's the biggest compensation of all, isn't it? I mean, if you get asylum in this country, the amount that you are given, whether it's housing, whether it's, I mean, in some cases, free mobile phones. Of course, if you settle in this country and stay here long term, the amount of access you'll have to public health services and indeed pensions as you get old. I mean, it's just a stupefying amount of money. But I wonder, it took more than 2 years for a judge to finally say, actually, maybe these people weren't in as much risk as we thought they were in the first place. I mean, could this have all been wrapped up a lot sooner than the long process it took?
Yeah, I'm convinced, you know, as a citizen, this is a conspiracy against the public. There's no question about it. I'm seeing lots of areas here where, you know, when I was in the service, a long time ago now, things like this just couldn't happen because the accountability sort of relationships were so tight. You've got people demonstrating serious moral cowardice here and more desire for their careers than for the good of the country. And personally, I think it needs a truly independent inquiry into what has gone wrong here. This is a catastrophic error. Just bear in mind, it basically cost us £2 billion to recapture the Falklands. This mistake is, and I'm afraid the catalogue of errors that have followed it, are going to cost us 4 times what it cost us to retake the Falklands. Let's put it in balance here.
A huge amount of money. Chris Parry, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Former NATO Commander, Rear Admiral.
Now, in other news, Sir Keir Starmer has triggered a new split with the left of his party, punishing 7 Labour MPs who voted against his welfare legislation.
Yes, Neil Duncan-Jordan, Brian Leishman, Chris Hincliffe and Rachel Maskell have all had the party whip removed, meaning the MPs will sit now as independents in the House of Commons.
Meanwhile, 3 other Labour MPs have been stripped of their trade envoy roles.
Well, joining us now is GBNews political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, so this happened yesterday. Why do you suppose Keir Starmer chose that moment?
Well, I think the exact timing of it is quite curious, given as the Afghanistan debacle reflects particularly badly on the Conservative government. You might have thought they would have sort of enjoyed that circular firing squad that now seems to be taking place within the Conservatives. But I think the reason that he has suspended these MPs is simply to send a very clear message so that Labour MPs trotting off for their summer break next week will reflect on this, and then coming back in September, the government will be hoping that they will be rather more obedient than they have been. And I mean, standing on Downing Street now, very conscious that the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, is inside meeting with the Prime Minister. They've announced this new deal with Germany. Last week, it was Macron with France. It feels like the Prime Minister feels much more comfortable, frankly, dealing with world leaders, being on the world stage, than he does in dealing with his own MPs. Because look, you know, it's just a year since he was elected with this majority of 161, and yet twice now, both last July and this July, the government have ended up taking the whip off MPs for rebelling. Last summer, it was rebelling over the two-child benefit cap. These particular MPs this time, the government says, have had repeated breaches of party discipline. They all rebelled on welfare specifically. We saw that incredible situation just a couple of weeks ago where the £5 billion that the government was wanting to save off the ballooning welfare bill was wiped out, the bill gutted really just before the vote. And that happened because Rachel Maskell, one of the people that's been suspended, had tabled a second and final amendment, and 47 MPs supported it. So trying to send a message, trying to reassert his authority. But of course, although there are Labour MPs saying this is totally fair enough, you know what you've signed up for, you've got to toe the line. Plenty of others deeply unhappy, thinking it's a sign of weakness, and that in fact it is not going to solve the Prime Minister's problem with controlling his own MPs, not least because many of them feel that the Prime Minister really hasn't had any time for them. One of them last night, Brian Leishman, I think it was saying that the Prime Minister has still never spoken to him.
Catherine Forster, thank you so much. Catherine, our political correspondent there outside Downing Street. Now, the Prime Minister has been talking a lot about how this visit with Germany will help us with our illegal migration crisis. But having a look at the Channel, and Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, has very much been doing that, things look like they're not exactly peachy, do they? Mark?
No, hundreds more crossing again today, and we're expecting a very busy day tomorrow. And then there's this whole debate, really, over whether the French, who of course don't push the boats back to shore, are actually enabling the small boat crossings by not just escorting the boats safely to French waters, UK waters I should say, giving them life jackets, but now it seems handing out bottles of water. Let's take a look at this video that we've just obtained. You can see the migrants there, very happy with himself. He's got a nice bottle of water. Who has given him that water, we think? Well, it's this lifeboat crew, the Berk lifeboat crew, handing packets of bottled water over to the migrants and getting a big cheer.
Was that a high five as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Extraordinary.
So, listen, people might argue that, well, what else are you meant to do? These poor migrants are in the boat and they're maybe a bit thirsty. It's a 4 or 5 hour journey across the Channel. They're not going to die of thirst in that journey, but there is a lot potential to argue about as to whether giving them water, giving them life jackets, and escorting them across the Channel is tantamount to enabling these crossings. We've got some more video we can show you from the beach, this time at Gravelines near Dunkirk. And this will become apparent very soon within this video of what we're talking about in terms of a French unwillingness to do anything about pushing migrants back in their small boats and instead handing out the likes of life jackets. So look at those people. There was about 70 or so that were sat on the beach waiting And what were they waiting for, you might ask? They were waiting for a taxi boat to come out of one of the river tributaries near Dunkirk. The water en masse, not a single French police officer intervening at any point to stop this operation. And there you see the boat. They're there, it's about waist height at most, so in shallow enough water to be able to push back as the French have promised. But far from actually pushing that small boat back, the French rigid inflatable vessel that we can see now is right up there, just handing out life jackets to these migrants for their journey.
I was at the airport flying back to London the other day, and I was just thinking the entire time, why should I have to show my passport when we have zero border control in our southern border? I mean, it just makes the law-abiding people turn up with their passports, you know, to get into their country, like good people, and then this. I mean, it's a mockery.
Well, indeed, and if you follow the people smugglers' instructions, you would throw your passport away.
Well, yeah,
not only would you not show it, you just wouldn't keep it so that you can invent a backstory for yourself to ensure that the appeal to the asylum seeker panel would be accepted.
Mark, this is perhaps the most extraordinary piece of video that you've shown us. It shows there is actually no jeopardy at all in crossing the channel in a small boat. I mean, it is not the disincentive that the British government clearly thought it once was, because from the moment you step on that boat until the moment you get picked up by the British Border Force vessels, of course, your small boat never makes it to the beach. You get picked up by the British and processed. From the moment you set off from France, the moment that you get in contact with the British, you are escorted, you're handed water, you're handed life jackets, you're whooping and high-fiving along with the French authorities. It's a circus ride.
I think you're right. That's the terminology, I think, that is most applicable to what we're actually seeing unfolding here, because we, as a government in this country, successive governments, have called on the French to be more robust, to do more to stop the boats from launching, or if they have launched, if they're in the shallow water, push them back. The French keep telling us they're going to do it. They're going to do it next month. They're going to do it the following month. They haven't done it yet. Those pictures you were looking at of that rigid inflatable marine patrol vessel was right alongside that migrant boat today. Those images were shot this morning at Gravelines Beach near Dunkirk. It made no effort to push the French or the migrant boat back to the French coast, and instead handed out life jackets, and then further out into the channel, more French vessels are handing out water.
Well, it seems like the government are telling us not to believe what we see, because apparently Keir Starmer is working with our international partners to get results for us. They're smashing the people smuggling gangs and securing our borders. You had a final video, didn't you, to show us very quickly? I think we've just got a moment.
Well, this is just the showing you basically the German issue in terms of how pivotal these people smuggling operations, Germany is, to those smuggling operations. You can see this is one of the boats that was made in China, transported there to Turkey. Another video we can show you shows the boat having been inflated, assembled there for its journey to Germany. And we can show you a third video that shows the petrol cans being filled, the vehicles being assembled, stuffed full of those petrol cans, of the small boats, of the life jackets, and then they make it to France, where they hand out those life jackets to the French migrants here in France. So Germany absolutely pivotal to the people smugglers. The Germans have been urged, just like the French, for years to do something more to clamp down on the people smugglers. They say they're going to change the law to make it an offence to be part of a people smuggling conspiracy in Germany. Incredible that that is not an offence under German law. But of course, they're going to change the law, but not for another 6 months.
All of these European countries are just looking to the right
After
of them,
about
aren't
another
they?
20,000 migrants have crossed the channel, at least.
Well, Mark White, you always do come in to cheer us up. Thanks indeed.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Great for the blood pressure,
to help
you are.
where I can.
Fantastic for the blood pressure, guys, eh? But we need to know this stuff. We need to know what's actually happening on the ground or in the channel.
Perhaps you'd like to lower your blood pressure by winning £54,321. Here's how.
We're here at Down Hall in Essex to enjoy the finer things in life, and it's your chance to win £54,321 in cash. It's like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account each week for a whole year, which means that you'd be able to indulge in treats whenever you wanted to. That extra cash each week could send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing this year to enable you to sit back, relax and do nothing. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
French authorities first seized the Lady T, and that's an Eastbourne-based fishing vessel. And next, they fined its skipper, Philip Edwards, €30,000 to release his boat. Now, the Lady T, operating legally under UK jurisdiction, was intercepted by a French patrol ship near the Somme Bay. Now, the incident has sparked massive outrage among British fishermen and is renewing calls for the government to stand firm against French overreach in national waters. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joining with Charlotte Edwards, who's the husband. Husband Philip is the skipper of the Lady T and is out fishing right now. Charlotte, welcome to the show. I've got to say, here at GB News, we are hugely supportive and appreciative of British fishermen and fisherwomen. Do a fantastic job. So if you're nervous about the interview, please don't be. I want to ask you how on earth this happened. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, for example, that the Lady T didn't have the correct paperwork, it was fishing illegally, and the French decided to pounce. What's the reality?
The paperwork just slipped through. It was an admin error. The other two boats had the permits, and unfortunately, his didn't at the time. He wasn't in as far in as they said he was. He was about 800 metres in their water. He wasn't near the 12-mile.
He was intercepted by the Pluvier. That's a French Navy ship. No, by the way, the sort of French Navy ships that just seem to give an escort to illegal dinghies coming into British waters, suddenly pouncing into action. The only boat they've managed to stop seems to be the Lady T.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 28 minutes past 1. Now the franchise will be lowered. Yes, the voting age plunging down to 16, giving those 17 and 16-year-olds a right to vote in elections.
Yes, apparently this is all to modernise UK democracy, make it fairer for everyone, but it's being described as a seismic shift to ensure, of course, that young people's voices are heard.
Of course, we don't hear anything
Never hear
any other
them.
way. But should teenagers, or indeed children, have a say at the ballot box?
Well, we're going to debate this. Political commentator and podcaster Sunil Sharma and Labour councillor for Lambeth, Martin Abrams. Martin, I'll let you start first. Make the case for this. Why on earth would we give children the vote?
Well, good afternoon. I mean, there's been a democratic deficit in England for quite a number of years now because obviously Scotland and Wales have had votes at 16, and what research has found in those nations is that democratic participation has increased significantly. There's research that shows that voters at 16 will then go on to carry on and be much more participatory in elections in the future. So this is about just extending that democratic
Well, hang on. So there's evidence to show that if you're given the vote at 16, you're more likely to then vote age 25?
Yeah.
Well, surely someone who who votes at 16 obviously is going to be someone who's keen and therefore is more likely to vote at 25. I don't know if it therefore follows that giving the vote to 16-year-olds improves the rate at which people vote later on. Do you see what I mean?
No, it does. It does, because voters in the independence referendum in 2014 were given the vote at 16. 95% of the 16 and 17-year-olds that voted in that election said they would then go on to vote again. So there's empirical research out there,
They'd already voted.
that shows this, that proves this.
Quite hard to separate that, of course, from the political culture in Scotland that was a massive national question that politicised not just young people, but also very old people and people in between too. Should we throw this to Sunil Sharma now? What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think the move to allow 16-year-olds to vote is purely political. There's lots of reasons. We can go through the legal, biological, psychological, why 16-year-olds are not considered adults legally. You can't buy alcohol, you can't buy cigarettes, you can't buy a lottery ticket, you can't get a full driving license, you can't get a credit card, you have restrictions on work, you can't get married, you can't purchase a knife, you can't get a tattoo without parental consent, you can't purchase an adult-rated film or video game, you can't be tried as an adult in criminal court, you can't open a bank account with overdraft or credit limits, you can't hold a full adult passport. So the list just goes on and on. I think that the reality is it's purely political. We know amongst adults that this current Labour government is one of the most hated governments in modern history in the UK. I think what they're thinking maybe is by lowering the age, they can get a new pool of voters. But I think the reality is they could lower it down to 10 years old. This government is deeply, deeply unpopular.
Well, let's put that list to Martin, because you just told us a long list of things that you can't do until you're 18. Martin, if you were consistent, surely you'd argue that all of those things should be free for 16-year-olds to do.
Well, I'm not sure the list that was read out was factually correct, so I'm not going to provide full comment on...
Oh, come on. OK, let's choose one. You can't actively participate in a war zone, for example. You can't buy alcohol legally. You can't buy cigarettes legally.
You can join the army at 16.
Yes, but you can't actively participate in a war zone.
And only with parental consent. I mean, you're not being an independent...
You're still a child.
In 2008, there was a law that came in that raised the school leaving age to 18. You have to be in some sort of training or at school until you're 18. Isn't this a bit backwards? I mean, maybe 30 years ago, your arguments would have made a lot more sense in terms of what we considered 16-year-olds to be.
I think it's clear why people who tend to lean rightward in their political preferences are against this. And that's because younger people tend to vote for more progressive parties, progressive policies. But let's be clear here. Younger people...
By progressive, do you mean left-wing?
Please let me finish.
Do you mean left-wing when you say progressive? I'm asking you.
Younger people are being repeatedly screwed over by successive governments. The economy is lurching from economic crisis to another. There's job insecurity. Young people have got massive student debt. They've got zero chance of getting on the housing ladder. There's climate breakdown, and there's a reason why governments don't implement policies that favour older people, that favour younger people, because older people are the ones that tend to vote in far greater numbers than younger people. Votes at 16 would help rebalance that, and that would basically create a political culture where governments would implement policies that favour younger people.
If it was genuinely about turnout,
desperately in need of that.
That's an argument not about the extension of the franchise. That's an argument about the turnout of various cohorts. It's not that there are more people...
I've already explained, Tom, that if you encourage younger people to vote, then that increases turnout and voter participation.
Yeah, but we're not convinced by that, Martin. We're not convinced, but I will look into what you've said. I will look into it and examine the evidence there, because I think perhaps it hasn't been around for long enough to be able to even say that. Sunil, I'll put a last point to you, because we're running out of time. The right are just worried about this because young people won't vote for them.
No, I don't think that's the case. And I think we should worry about... I see this almost as a direct threat to democracy. You see a government that's in power right now that's deeply unpopular, and they're bending the laws of our democracy to do something that they think will benefit them. That's the pure reason they're doing this. They're doing this because there's no logical science that actually supports this decision other than desperation for votes. You look at the psychological impact and biological reasons why 16-year-olds aren't considered as adults. And there's more than enough evidence there on why they should not be voting. There's examples of why we said the prefrontal cortex is still developing. We could list the biological, psychological...
Well, apparently that's developing till 25, so perhaps we should push the voting age upwards. Sunil Sharma, thank you very much. Martin Abrams, really appreciate your point of view as well on this one. So let us know your thoughts. I do know that some of you actually do agree with this. You may have children, for example, or grandchildren who are very politically motivated, and you think they're probably, worth a couple votes.
I should probably declare an interest here, because I did found a campaign that tried to extend the logic of the votes at 16 argument. I called it Votes at 12. Let's have a watch.
I think it raises a really important point, and that point is that a lot of the arguments about votes at 16, in fact almost all of them, can actually be applied to 12-year-olds. You might say that 12-year-olds aren't allowed to buy alcohol, buy cigarettes, drive,
get married,
fight for their country, marry without permission, all of these things, but that's true of 16-year-olds as well.
Yes, he's always been precocious.
That was a little while ago. But I think the point does still stand.
Who were you arguing with on the other side?
Lisa Nandy.
Right, so she was saying 16-year-olds should get the vote.
She was indeed.
And 12-year-olds, no? She said that was ridiculous, did she?
Well, it's interesting, because all of the things that we say about 16-year-olds that they can't do, I mean, 12-year-olds can't do them either. And then they come up with an argument like 16-year-olds can pay tax. Well, so can 12-year-olds.
That really annoys me, because they're, people who don't pay tax, who are adults. Well, maybe they should have the vote taken away from them.
There's no legal flaw on the age at which tax is paid. It's just, I mean, if you happen to be a child actor, of course you'll pay income tax.
Also, how many 16-year-olds earn enough to pay income tax anyway? Zippo, probably, about 5% maybe. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up. Yes, a community radio station has been fined for broadcasting anti-Semitic hate, and they've lashed out at Ofcom. They're accusing the regulator of Islamophobia. Now, this is important because we're currently writing a definition of Islamophobia. Could it be abused? That's after the news.
Very good afternoon. The half-past headlines are 37 minutes past 1. 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to vote in the next general election under sweeping reforms. The changes also include automated voter registration and new IDs like UK bank cards and digital driving licences. Sir Keir Starmer and the German Chancellor have signed a historic Kensington Treaty to strengthen UK-Germany ties. The deal covers trade, security and migration, including new school exchanges and a crackdown on smuggling gangs. 4 Labour MPs have been kicked out for defying the party on welfare issues. One slammed the move as petty, while Downing Street says it's all about loyalty before the summer break. Manchester United fans topped the arrest list last season with 121 arrests, mainly for disorder at Old Trafford. Football-related arrests fell, but banning orders and hate crime incidents reached decade highs. Britain's jobless rate has risen to 4.7%, the highest in 4 years, with job vacancies falling. But wage growth still outpaces inflation, a rare silver lining in a weakening labour market. And in a pioneering first, 8 babies have been born in the UK using DNA from 3 people. To prevent a rare disease, the NHS calls it a game changer, offering hope to families fighting genetic illness. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's bright today in the far northeast, but elsewhere a lot of cloud and some scattered showers, even some thunderstorms, because we've seen an increase in the humidity and low pressure turn up at the same time. This low moving towards Ireland and bringing some weather fronts with it. Within these weather fronts we've got a lot of cloud and outbreaks of mostly light rain at first, moving through parts of Wales, central England, largely dry to the south, some bright spells appearing. But showers will really get going across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Some thundery downpours here. Chance of some localised flooding because of the intense rain rates. And also a scattered shower or thunderstorm through the Midlands. Very warm though and humid, especially in the south where temperatures will reach the high 20s. Now towards the northeast we keep sunny spells for much of the day and it's a fine evening, apart from Shetland where we do see a lot of cloud cover, but mostly dry. It's in western Scotland where we'll see some heavy rain by evening, and Northern Ireland continues to see some heavy showers and some thunderstorms, most likely those thunderstorms affecting the far north and west. Largely dry across the southern third of the UK with just 1 or 2 showers and clear spells into the evening, but naturally with this humid air in place we're going to see a lot of cloud across the UK, some mist and fog around coasts in the west and the south, and outbreaks of rain moving through Scotland, Northern Ireland, West Wales and the southwest. Staying dry towards the southeast, it's mild and muggy for all of us overnight. We do have some brightness across the Midlands, east and southeast England first thing Friday, and it's going to be a hot day in places with temperatures reaching the high 20s and low 30s widely across East Anglia and the southeast. Elsewhere a lot of cloud cover and we've got this unstable air in place, so further showers and thunderstorms, particularly North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England and southern Scotland.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A84 is closed between Callander and Kilmahog due to a serious incident. Motorists should find alternative routes and allow extra travel time. Additionally, the A470 northbound from Nantgarv to Upperboat remains closed for roadworks, with diversions. In Staffordshire, the M54 westbound has 1 lane closed between junctions 2 and 3 due to an accident. Moving to Greater London, the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 26 and 25 has a broken down vehicle causing lane restrictions. And on the trains, ScotRail services have buses replacing trains between Partick and Anniesland. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 1:45. Now, a Bury-based Islamic radio station has been fined for airing an anti-Semitic speech, but it's now hitting back.
Yes, they're accusing Ofcom of Islamophobia after they were sanctioned for this hate speech. The row has reignited debate about defining Islamophobia and whether it could protect extremism instead of tackling it.
We're joined now by the head of campaigns at the National Secular Society, Megan Manson. Megan, I suppose this raises a huge question over a legal definition of Islamophobia, whether that could be used to shut down, frankly, either criticism of a religion or indeed accusations of anti-Semitism.
Well, indeed, and it is pretty concerning when you sort of look about what happened here. Markaz Al-Huda, which is a registered charity, broadcast a program on Salam BCR where the presenter said that Jews are the biggest enemy of humanity. And so, yeah, we're talking very, he did mention other sort of anti-Semitic tropes as well. So we are talking quite extreme anti-Semitism here. Ofcom quite rightly pointed out that this was breaching the broadcasting code regarding hate speech, discriminatory language and abuse of derogatory treatment. And it also expressed the concern that the speech had it could aggravate religious tensions between Muslim and Jewish communities and therefore posed a serious risk of harm to members of the public. So, and then, of course, as we've seen, that the Markaz al-Huda responded by saying that Ofcom is an Islamophobic organisation which bows down to Zionist groups controlling all the media, which I think sort of speaks for itself.
So he's totally doubled down, hasn't he, on the anti-Semitic tropes? Totally doubled down. Does this warrant, in your view, then, a police investigation?
Well, even before we even consider this, I think we need to consider first the charitable status of this organisation. So they have surrendered their broadcast licence, which means that I believe that means they can't broadcast on the air anymore, but they can still broadcast online, and they still are, I believe. So we have reported this organisation to the Charity Commission, and because we think that charities are meant to serve a public benefit. They're not meant to be, certainly not meant to be causing extremism. And to top it off, Markaz al-Huda says on its Charity Commission register that its charitable activities include eradicating religious and cultural prejudices. So it's not even serving its own stated aims. So I think the Charity Commission really, needs to take as robust a stance as Ofcom and penalise this charity. Maybe even consider taking away its charitable status, because it clearly isn't benefiting the public. Things like this are harming the public.
OK, well, Megan Manson from the National Secular Society, thanks so much for being with us here on Good Afternoon Britain this afternoon.
OK, well, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the travel weather.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Lots of hot, strong sunshine around the Mediterranean at the moment. A few showers are possible in Sicily and inland over Turkey. We may just see one or two showers. Most of the coast here dry and sunny. Much of the Greek islands also dry, fine and sunny. One or two showers through the spine of Italy, but again, the coast's dry and fine. Northern parts of Spain may see a bit more cloud and a few showers. Quite a brisk wind blowing over the Canaries, but it's going to be hot in Tenerife. Temperatures just dipping a little bit here into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, experts are warning that lithium suppliers will not keep up with the demand for electric cars.
Yeah, researchers say domestic lithium production could grow as much by about 10 times what it currently is by 2030, but will still fall short of demand.
So this morning we're asking whether Labour's green car policy is unachievable.
This policy tells you everything you need to know about net zero. This isn't about giving people free choices about the technologies they want to use. This is about saying we're going to have mandatory targets. It's a sad indictment on our country if we've just normalised the government making these fundamental decisions for people's lives. The CEBR has warned that this policy might cost the country. That's rigid targets for battery electric vehicles, known as the ZEV mandate. 80% of all vehicles will have to be electric vehicles by 2030, rising to 100% by 2035. And that policy is expected to cost £400 billion to the UK economy. And of course, car makers as well have warned that this policy is not achievable.
The latest stats say 47% of vehicles sold in Britain are now EVs. We're halfway there after just 2 years of the electric mandate. We've another 5 years to go. It's speeding up. And this charge that lithium, we're going to have a shortage of lithium, is nonsense. What it says is that there may be the consumption of lithium is increasing, so the domestic production will not be sufficient, but there's plenty in the world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 2. Now, in a groundbreaking scientific development, 8 babies in the UK have been born using DNA from 3 people to prevent the transmission of deadly genetic diseases.
Yes, so the technique swaps faulty mitochondria with healthy donor ones, giving babies DNA from 3 people.
Well, all 8 babies were born free of a mitochondrial disease, a breakthrough that the NHS calls a game-changer here for families facing genetic illnesses.
But are there ethical questions here? Let's discuss this with journalist and Catholic commentator Caroline Farrow. Caroline, this is being hailed as a huge scientific development that could potentially help people who would otherwise suffer in the future. What are your thoughts?
I think it's extremely dangerous, actually, and it's very difficult to pontificate, for want of a better word, when we're talking about real-life human babies. You know, everyone's very pleased that these babies have been born free of disease, but I think what you have to remember is that these children are essentially biological experiments, because this has never been done before and we don't know the lifelong implication. And in fact, early studies, early human trials and animal studies have shown that even the small amounts of faulty mitochondria that are left behind can sort of replicate and take over. So, yeah, I think it's certainly dodgy from that point of view, and just, you know, using children as experiments. But also, this does open the door to germline modification, and that doesn't only affect the child that's been born, but future generations. And I think this could be the first step to designer babies, which nobody wants to see. I mean, where do you draw the line? And when we think about what's happened here, so the third parent is typically an anonymous egg donor, which again, that raises concerns about treating women as sources of biological material and children as basically products of biotech, so children of biotech solutions. And I think there's a real risk of turning reproduction into a consumer-driven market.
We've sort of already passed that Rubicon, haven't we? I mean, we do screen for genetic diseases, and we do try and make sure that every baby is born in the most healthy way possible. It is, in many ways, a deeply scientific process now. I mean, surely, if all designer baby means is that we make sure all babies are born healthy, is that a very good thing?
Well, I think you have to remember that this mitochondrial transfer is banned or restricted in most countries. So France, Germany, Canada, Austria, they've all banned it due to ethical and safety concerns.
Only because it's very, very new.
Yeah, but the UK is a real outlier on this.
Or a pioneer.
And in fact, a lot of people are... The regulatory approval was driven more by biotech lobbying and sort of emotive media cases than the real ethics. And yes... What you have to remember is when we talk about babies being born free of diseases, a lot of the time what that means is aborting babies that aren't healthy. So pregnant women having a screening, realising that the baby may have a congenital condition. So, for example, in Iceland, they talk about the fact that they're free of Down syndrome. Now, that hasn't done anything to cure or alleviate Down syndrome. What that has meant is that babies with Down syndrome have been aborted. So,
hang on, they hail themselves as being free of Down syndrome simply because women have aborted any Down syndrome child that they may or may not have had. So it's nothing about awareness or the age perhaps coming down of people having babies. It's all to do with the aborting them all.
Precisely. So when we talk about, oh, isn't it great for society to have healthy babies? Of course, that's a statement that no one can disagree with. Of course, we want our population to be healthy. But in fact, what's really happening here is that when we say we're free of a certain condition, what we really mean is that children with that condition are being aborted. So I think we have to...
Well, maybe this will change that, because no babies have been aborted here, but I do take your point about the sort of slippery slope. Do we want to be screening for acne next, or colour of hair, or, whatever else? Caroline, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to end it there. I'm really sorry, but we'll speak again on this. Caroline Farrow, journalist and Catholic commentator. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
I have to say...
You love the designer babies.
If you could screen out acne and get rid of that, I mean, that would be a wonderful thing, would it not be?
I don't know. There's something a bit icky about it all.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more to come in the next hour.
Yes, Nigel Farage.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's bright today in the far northeast, but elsewhere a lot of cloud and some scattered showers, even some thunderstorms, because we've seen an increase in the humidity and low pressure turn up at the same time. This low moving towards Ireland and bringing some weather fronts with it. Within these weather fronts we've got a lot of cloud and outbreaks of mostly light rain at first, moving through parts of Wales, central England, largely dry to the south, some bright spells appearing. But showers will really get going across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Some thundery downpours here. Chance of some localised flooding because of the intense rain rates. And also a scattered shower or thunderstorm through the Midlands. Very warm though and humid, especially in the south where temperatures will reach the high 20s. Now towards the northeast we keep sunny spells for much of the day and it's a fine evening, apart from Shetland where we do see a lot of cloud cover, but mostly dry. It's in western Scotland where we'll see some heavy rain by evening, and Northern Ireland continues to see some heavy showers and some thunderstorms, most likely those thunderstorms affecting the far north and west. Largely dry across the southern third of the UK with just one or two showers and clear spells into the evening, but naturally with this humid air in place we're going to see a lot of cloud across the UK, some mist and fog around coasts in the west and the south, and outbreaks of rain moving through Scotland, Northern Ireland, West Wales and the southwest. Staying dry towards the southeast, it's mild and muggy for all of us overnight. We do have some brightness across the Midlands, east and southeast England first thing Friday, and it's going to be a hot day in places with temperatures reaching the high 20s and low 30s widely across East Anglia and the southeast. Elsewhere a lot of cloud cover and we've got this unstable air in place, so further showers and thunderstorms, particularly North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England and Southern Scotland.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 17th of July. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Now, a shocking Ministry of Defence data leak exposed the identities of Afghans who helped UK forces. Now, it could cost the taxpayer up to £1 billion more in compensation.
Which is a very special treaty because it's the first of its kind ever, if you can believe it, between our two countries.
The Prime Minister hosts Germany's Chancellor today, with the pair expected to sign a landmark treaty to tackle people smuggling gangs and boost defence ties.
Well, the French and the Germans have been accused of not doing enough to stop the people smugglers, and we've obtained new video which shows French not only not stopping the boats from leaving the French coast, but actually handing out life jackets and even bottled water.
Elsewhere, the biggest change to UK democracy in a generation. 16-year-olds will get the vote, that franchise being lowered by 2 years. So we'll ask, should children have a say at the ballot box?
And yes, Nigel Farage's Reform Party, well, they're now demanding a full halt to immigration, claiming mass immigration has weakened Britain. We're going to ask, is the UK too generous, or is reform's plan too extreme?
Meanwhile, flights from Pakistan are back on. Well, one Pakistani airline specifically. But is the government giving away too much to secure deportation deals?
Last month, we revealed that Pakistani ministers were proposing that their flag carrier could only return to Britain if they accepted grooming gang deportations from this country. That bargaining chip is now off the table. What, if anything, will replace it?
And it's a happy birthday for Queen Camilla. Yes, a birthday portrait there on your screen. We're going to take a look at the new photo a little later on, marking her 78th.
Yeah, hello and welcome back to Good Afternoon
Busy studio,
Britain.
aren't we?
This is a full, what a
Full house.
smorgasbord of various voices we have today, but that's because it's such a busy show.
Yes, and our top story, of course, is the secret Afghan resettlement scheme, and now the concerns over compensation claims. So people who've been given refugee status, resettled under this secret scheme into this country, now going to lawyers and seeking further compensation. Some saying they could receive up to £50,000 each from the government if their claims are successful.
And let's not forget that the scheme has already cost the best part of £1 billion to resettle. And this could be a further £1 billion then that is paid in compensation.
Quite incredible, isn't it? Well, we're going to speak to the former Conservative MP and British Army officer James Sunderland in just a moment, perhaps. But yes, it is absolutely staggering, the sums that are involved here. And I think there's something not fair play about being offered resettlement status in this country, refugee status in this country, and then suing the government for more money.
Absolutely. If you're offered refugee status in this country, you get free housing, you get access to free healthcare, you get, in some cases, free mobile phones and access to communication. I mean, all of these different things given for you for free, but that not good enough. Oh no, you will then need to sue for even more money from the British taxpayer.
I'm sure the lawyers are trying to find them, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
The lawyers are seeking them out for these cases, make a bit of money for themselves as well.
No,
yes, I would like interested in your views on this, actually, gbnews.com/your say. Do you think it's fair to seek compensation? Because I suppose the argument is they've been through a lot of trauma as a result of this data breach, and therefore they deserve a bit of cash from the government.
Although I have to say, I mean, if your country has a violent Islamic revolution, that's pretty traumatic to start with. I mean, everyone in Afghanistan, unless they're part of the Taliban, has had a bit of trauma. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that the British taxpayer owes them lots and lots of money.
OK, but yes, do get your thoughts in on this one, because I just think, considering the amount of money that we already spend on our asylum system across the board, considering the sums that have been earmarked for this secret covert resettlement scheme, Rachel Reeves signing off £7 billion, hopefully it will not cost that much.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of money. But I believe we can now go to the headlines, the news bulletins, in just a tick with Sam. No, not quite yet. OK. Well, we've got a lot more coming up on the show as well. This Pakistani Airlines. Now, this was the airline that was considered not safe enough to have flights to this country.
Shall we get all of the expert detail with Charlie Peters, who joins us now in the studio? Charlie, what is the story about?
So, Pakistan International Airlines has been blocked for several years from being able to fly to and from the United Kingdom over some safety concerns. Those concerns have now reportedly been overturned by the Department for Transport, so it's reacquired its air licence. That comes months after the Europeans have done the same. So this is a highly profitable route for the Pakistani flag carrier. It's been a key part of lobbying for them for many years to get it back into the skies. But last month we revealed that earlier this year, when David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, and also Hamish Falconer, Foreign Office Minister, were in Pakistan, that when they were pushing for deportations of Pakistani nationals in Britain, that in return, ministers and ministerial delegations in Islamabad said, all right, maybe, but if and only if you let our flag carrier to return to the country. Now, there's never been a suggestion that British ministers were pushing for that deal or had agreed to that. In fact, at the time, Whitehall sources sort of pushed back against our story, but then sort of subsequently conceded that it was a position that Pakistani ministers had put to our side. So with this airline now returning to Britain, completely independently of those discussions, this is an independent matter handled by the Civil Aviation Authority and the DfT, it does force that question, doesn't it? A question that's been asked to this channel by Robbie Moore, the Tory MP in Keighley in West Yorkshire, and Rupert Lowe, that independent MP for Great Yarmouth, asking if there is no bargaining chip anymore, what's it going to take to get deportations in the skies?
Unless we're not being told the full picture here. Unless behind the scenes, and I know that the government is denying this and has been denying this, but what if behind the scenes a deal has been done? A time-lagged deal so that no journalists can pick up on it. That, yes, we will grant this airline access to the United Kingdom once more, but in 6 months' time, you've got to accept some deportations. I mean, that's a possible deal that could well have been done.
And, Tom, it would be fascinating if that were the case at this stage, because we do know that there is serious hesitation within the Pakistani side against this move. Our original coverage last month revealed that they were basically fobbed off, the British ministers, when they were raising this issue. They were passed on to a different minister at a time. It took the Interior Minister, the most senior minister in this department in Pakistan, to make this argument to them. That's how we understand it happened. And that Interior Minister also said that if we accepted a couple, it could open the floodgates to several more attempts to deport people from Britain. And we understand that the two people in particular that David Lammy was trying to push and lobby for the deportation of are a couple of Rochdale offenders who actually had their British nationality stripped from them by the previous Conservative government, but using ECHR and the right to family life, etc., they've been able to block and delay deportation and have actually spent hundreds of thousands of pounds in legal aid, taxpayer funded, to do so. So what is on the table for British ministers to push to make sure these deportations take place? Well, opposition figures tell me there are two big key options. Why pay any foreign aid to a country that won't accept their nationals to be deported back to them? And further, apply visa penalties. That's also been raised with me. Tens of thousands of Pakistanis came to Britain last year, many of them to study as well as work, some of them dependents. If you applied visa penalties, that would put a lot of pressure on the government.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you, because surely an airline that's had safety issues in the past is not our only leverage over Pakistan.
Well,
I mean, this is ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, when we're giving out huge numbers of visas, as you say, when there's still foreign aid going to Pakistan, I mean, surely our government could be a tad more creative.
There are avenues for them to walk down if they chose to, but so far they have not.
Well, Charlie Peters, thank you very much indeed. We wait and watch whether there will be these deportations.
Absolutely. But back to our top story now. Concerns compensation claims over the breach of thousands of Afghans' data could be as high as £1 billion.
Yes, so lawyers working on the case have allegedly already signed up thousands of those impacted.
Well, those include Afghans who have, as a result of the leak, been granted asylum status here in the United Kingdom. OK, well, joining us now is former Conservative MP and British Army officer James Sunderland. James, am I harsh to say is not settled status in this country compensation enough? What do you think?
I totally agree. I think that there's something completely bonkers about Afghans who were granted asylum in the UK, who were granted safety by the UK government, now seeking to sue the UK government for not, in fact, acknowledging their safety. I think it's ridiculous, the fact that this leak is now paving the way somehow for a whole raft of claims, human rights lawyers jumping on the bandwagon. It's not right.
I suppose one of the big questions here is in how much danger were these people originally? I mean, it seems that a British judge in recent weeks has determined that actually the danger to these people in Afghanistan was less than the MOD initially assessed it to be. I mean, clearly there's been some crossed wires at some occasion.
Well, there's a clear pattern of evidence that suggests that people working for the British government in Afghanistan were in danger. We know that the Taliban was targeting them. We know that deaths have occurred, probably because of the support that these people gave the British forces when they were there. But it's hard to quantify. And also what's really important is that the leak of 18,000 or thereabouts names on a spreadsheet, what that's done is probably accelerated the process by which they are claiming asylum. In other words, that list of people were those who were already earmarked or potential candidates for the Arab scheme. So the leak has happened. It's regrettable. The MOD has apologised for it. These things sadly do happen in the heat of battle. But quite clearly, the process has been accelerated now, whereby what may have happened anyway is now happening.
Right, OK. It seems like quite a big lever to pull covertly from the public, secretly, inviting thousands of people to this country because of, as you say, something that just happens.
Well, I'm not condoning the policy or criticising the policy. I was in the MOD at the time. It came as a complete surprise to me 2 days ago when I saw the news reports. But quite clearly, the decision was taken at the time that these people were in danger. And I believe that there was a significant threat to life at the point at which Afghanistan government collapsed. There was clearly a move to bring them to the UK. They are legitimate asylum claimants in most cases. Let's hope the diligence has been done. 6,000, I believe, have been moved already from a total of 18,000 on that spreadsheet. So it's very, very hard to quantify either way. But I am clear, as a military man, as somebody who was in the MOD at the time, that these people paid a huge debt to UK society. They put their lives on the line. And it was the right thing to do.
But James, we hear about a row, though, at the time within the Cabinet, whereby you had ministers within the Home Office, the Home Office Minister, Secretary, and also the Foreign Office and also the Treasury, saying, well, actually, there are other things to consider. And it was very much the Defence Ministry that were pushing for this as the solution. Do you think enough concern was taken to, the British public and the British taxpayer?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question.
Was it about guilt?
I don't think so. I think it was about security, it was about the right to safety, it was about doing the right thing for people who had put their lives in danger by virtue of supporting the armed forces in Afghanistan. But quite clearly, the decision was taken at that time to grant asylum and also the super injunction. That was upheld by successive defence secretaries, that was upheld by successive Home Secretaries, and then by Labour when they came into power over a year ago. So let's be clear, the fact that the injunction was lifted only 2 days ago shows that there was clearly legitimacy in the first place whereby that was granted.
Absolutely. I think that probably the biggest point of contention is at what point should it have been lifted? Because 2 years to gag the press is an extraordinary amount of time. I mean, it's never been done before with a government super injunction. This is, in many ways, an absolute first. And it also was the case that when finally this got to court, the judge then agreed, actually, yes, the danger has substantially passed. I mean, could this have been all decided within 6 months rather than 2 years?
Interesting question. I mean, I dare say this is not the only injunction that exists or super injunction that exists. There are others that we know of, and I'm sure that you're aware of, Tom. But to answer the question directly, my understanding of the process is that a judge has to review that injunction repeatedly and continually over a period of time. It has to be supported by the UK government, which of course it was by both the Conservatives and Labour, and by successive Home Secretaries and Defence Secretaries. It was only 2 days ago that the conditions were deemed to be right for that injunction to be lifted.
Yeah,
So
but
there
you
was
see how this
clearly
looks to a lot of the
legal reason why it happened.
British public, that again it's lawyers deciding this, when actually it's the British public who face the consequences of these policies that are secretly taken. I think there is an argument to say, why should there have been an injunction to begin with? The British public are paying for all of this. Local councils are having to sort out accommodation for all of these people. There are risks that there isn't adequate vetting of people as well, and that there could be security risks with having these huge resettlement schemes. I'm sorry, but a lot of people will say, you know, I don't care what the judge has to say. I don't care, you know, whether the Defence Minister thinks we should have an injunction. Actually, we're paying for all of this. We should have known from day one.
I think you're right to a certain extent. I'm not defending the policy at all, but clearly there was a legal argument why the injunction was only lifted this week. I think we also need to be really, really clear that we can't demonise these people. I mean, the 6,000 Afghans that have come across already is an absolute drop in the ocean in comparison to those that arrived here through both illegal and legal means over the past 20, 30 years under both Blair's open doors policy and at the time at which we had left the European Union and were putting legislation in place to close our borders. And let's be clear on this, the Conservatives did Brexit, and the Conservatives put the legislation in place whereby we had a chance of getting flights off to Rwanda. So let's be absolutely clear, to demonise the Conservatives as well is not the right thing to do. I am completely in favour of closing borders. I'm a military guy, I serve my country. I find it completely distasteful, the number of people that come across the UK now on the small boats across the Channel with no reason to be here. These people are not asylum seekers, they're migrants. So let's be clear, let's not mix metaphors. Let's make sure that we are giving the Afghans the credit they deserve. Yes, there was an injunction. Yes, I think there could be more transparency at the time, but there was clearly a reason why that injunction was only lifted 2 days ago.
OK, well, James Sunderland, thanks indeed for joining us, former Conservative MP and British Army officer. And you've beautifully set us up for our next topic, which is indeed that illegal migration question. So thank you indeed for that.
Oof, OK, let us know your thoughts on that one. Yes, the French authorities have been spotted handing out water bottles to small boat migrants. So this on top of the life jackets, on top of helping them across the Channel. And Mark White has the details for us. Hello, Mark.
Well, yes, the French have been accused, of course, for a considerable time of just not doing enough to intervene to stop these boats leaving. We promised that there would actually be a pushback tactic in shallow water. That's not happening, and instead we're getting life jackets handed out, and now, as this video will show, they are handing out water as well. This chap here on a small boat showing his bottle of water, that rigid inflatable from the lifeboat service in Berck in France, handing out a packet of bottles of water there to the cheers and whoops from those migrants on board that boat. We've got some more footage we can show you from Gravelines, which is near Dunkirk, the French beach there, where a group of migrants are just sat there on the beach waiting for their opportunity to get across to UK waters. Now, you see them running there towards the English Channel and into the water. The reason that they're running is because they're about to meet their taxi boat, they're called, a migrant boat that will have been hiding and assembled in a river tributary not far from Dunkirk, then comes down that river tributary into the sea, but comes right in to very shallow water, only about waist high. And you can see that boat right there, those migrants clambering on board that vessel. And of course, they are waist high in water at the moment. So we're told that the French tactic that they are adopting now is to push these small boats back if they are in shallow water. But the video that we've obtained here will show that that French rigid inflatable is not only not pushing the migrants back, but here they are handing over life jackets. So handing over life jackets, handing over bottled water when they're in the middle of the channel, and all the while, of course, also enabling the migrant boats to reach safely UK waters by escorting them across the channel to ensure that they get through the busy shipping lanes unhindered.
Quite incredible, isn't it, to look at? I mean, it's hard to be shocked at this stage, really, but I still am. I still am, with just how much the French authorities are helping this all along its way. And so Keir Starmer today, he's speaking to the Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, and there he's saying that, oh, look, Germany are changing their law when it comes to people smugglers and boat smugglers and the rest of it. Will this have any impact?
Well, I'm not sure that it will, because just like the French, the Germans stand accused of not doing enough to actually help stop the small boat crisis in the Channel by not going after the people smugglers on their soil. And we can show you a series of images that highlight just what a pivotal role Germany plays in the people smuggling crisis, unwittingly or not. The first video that we can show you shows one of these small boats that was manufactured in a backstreet factory in China, now having been shipped to Turkey, where, as you can see there, sped up, but this is that small boat being blown up, inflated, so that the chap here can just test it for leaks. Another video we can show you shows the boat having been assembled and in the garage waiting to be deflated again and then packed up. And it's packed up and taken to Germany, where they are stored in lockups in cities like Essen or in cities like Düsseldorf in Germany, awaiting transportation to France. And another video that we'll show you shows that process here. Petrol cans are being filled up for the small boat journeys. The boats have been stacked in to the back of these vehicles here, a convoy of 4 vehicles leaving from Germany to head to France. And after traversing hundreds of miles, they get to France unhindered, never stopped by the German or French authorities. Here they are in France, unloading the contents of these vehicles, which of course are the small boats, the engines, the petrol they need for their journeys, and the life jackets. But don't worry, if they've not got enough life jackets, the French will hand out some more to them just off the coast of France.
Extraordinary to those pictures. Mark White, thank you so much for bringing them to us. The more you see all of these different pictures, whether it's the people with their mobile phones crossing the channel, the organised routes, the French just standing there and watching them, it just makes you completely incredulous.
And it makes you despair. But let's bring some hope to your lives as well. Why don't you enter our competition? You can win £54,321. Here's how to.
We're here at Down Hall in Essex to enjoy the finer things in life. And it's your chance to win £54,321 in cash. It's like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account each week for a whole year, which means that you'd be able to indulge in treats whenever you wanted to. That extra cash each week could send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing this year to enable you to sit back, relax and do nothing. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's programme.
Yes, reforms immigration freeze. Nigel Farage calls for a total halt on legal migration. So is Britain too soft? Would you support a total freeze on immigration, or is that a step too far? We'll debate that after the break.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 2. Now, Nigel Farage is calling for an immediate freeze to all immigration.
Yes, in a piece for the Daily Mail, he writes that the UK needs to send a clear message that we are not a soft-touch destination.
He adds that we shouldn't subscribe to the narrative that mass migration is a net benefit.
So I guess the question is, should we pause all immigration for a time-limited period? It sounds. Well, joining us is former Conservative member of the European Parliament, David Campbell-Bannerman, and the Professor of Economics and Public Policy at King's College, Jonathan Portes. David, should we have a pause on immigration?
Well, I think we need now a far break, as I would call it. I do think we need a decisive pause, break, whatever you call it, because I think people are actually disgusted. I think the Afghan, the secret Afghan visa scheme is just the icing on the cake. I think people are appalled. And today, actually, we had a report from the United Nations saying our population is going to be the largest in Europe by the end of this century. You know, it's just, I think people just feel it's out of control and we need to be decisive about it, yes.
Jonathan Portes, what do you make of this? Because there's been a lot of analysis that suggests that actually if we have people coming in earning very low amounts of money, it's not necessarily a net boon to our finances, given the structure of the welfare state and given old age benefits and all the rest of it. I mean, it pretty quickly becomes a net drain.
Yes, but of course that's not true on average. We know that. So, for example, people who come here, on average, people who've come here from abroad, whether they're from within the European Union or outside the European Union, earn slightly more than Brits. They're also, of course, younger, much less likely to be retired. So overall, we know that on average, immigration is a net benefit. There's an awful lot of fake news on this. So, for example, I just want to put on the record, I was on Alex Armstrong's show 3 nights ago, where he made a completely ridiculous claim that there were lots of people coming here to work as trolley collectors. Now, if he'd actually done the merest bit of research, and I know that's tough for some people.
Okay, Jonathan, don't be rude.
Let me make my point.
We'll allow you to make your point, but don't be rude about a fellow presenter.
It's entirely relevant here because, as I said, you get this sort of fake news. This claim, it's easy to check this claim. You can go and look at the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'm on the page now. I do see trolley collectors here at point 9249.
And do you know how many people do you know how many people came under that particular occupation code?
No, I don't know that. I imagine not very many.
It's quite easy to check. It's quite easy to check, and a serious journalist would have checked.
Okay.
It was one person, and they did not come.
Do you think it's a bit strange though that is even featured on the list? I mean, I don't want to get into an argument that you had with another presenter because we're on to talk about something else.
I merely want to point out that had he done the merest bit of research, he could have found out that nobody came here on a skilled work visa to work as a trolley collector.
Okay, well, Jonathan, can I ask you about your central point, which is, on average, migrants to this country are a net benefit.
Exactly.
Okay. So should we allow those who are below? Right. Should we allow all of those who are below average to come to this country, who aren't a net benefit?
We don't, of course, because we have post-Brexit. For people who come here on work visas, of course, there are different types of visas where salary limits don't apply, like the Hong Kong visa scheme, for example, or student visas. But for people coming here on work visas, there are skill and salary thresholds. And that means that generally people do earn considerably more than average. Where they don't, there's one particular exception, which is care workers. And of course, the government is indeed closing the care worker visa scheme.
Why do we have 1.3 million foreign nationals on universal credit? More than half of which are unemployed.
Most of those people on universal credit who were foreign nationals when they first claimed universal credit, they may not be now, are entitled to that because of the EU settlement scheme. So that is part of the withdrawal agreement, which we signed with Nigel Farage's support, I note, as Brexit. So they have a legal right to the same benefits as British citizens under the withdrawal agreement, which we signed with the European Union, Boris Johnson's Brexit agreement. Nobody, as far as I know, is proposing to tear up the withdrawal agreement and declare a trade war with Europe. So it's slightly irrelevant to the current policy debate, isn't it?
At this point, shall we bring David Campbell-Bannerman back into the discussion? Because, David, it does seem that Nigel Farage, in making this intervention, has toughened up Reform's policy, both on legal and illegal migration. For a long time, he was perhaps moderating as Reform was climbing in the polls. Does he see, perhaps, that he needs to shore up his flank on the right when it comes to migration?
Yes, I think there have been some question marks over it. With the new chairman that's brought in was quite relaxed about immigration, and I think these are mixed messages from reform, which has not helped them, and people are confused about all of this. I mean, I have to say, you just have to look at the figures that there's 8 million people who are capable of work in Britain who are not working. It's actually far more than before COVID. And surely we need some kind of shock therapy where we need to say, look, you cannot just bring in people from abroad to sort this problem out. You've got to find ways of incentivizing our own people to get back to work, take them off PIP and all these benefits, help them, not punish them, but help them back to work. The economy would all benefit from that. I mean, but you've got a government that's decided not to train enough nurses and actually to rely on immigrants, and it's doing the same with doctors. I mean, we can't go on like this. I think we do need some shock therapy. The only way is to say that's one option you can't do. You can't just issue more visas.
OK, well, David Campbell-Bannerman and Jonathan Porters, thank you very much indeed. It is very interesting to have a look at the skilled worker visa list because trolley collector does appear on there. If Jonathan's right that only one person has come on that particular visa, that's still notable, in my opinion, that it's even there. But also rail travel assistants, so revenue protection officers, train conductors and guards. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even if it's a very low number, it does sort of raise an eyebrow as to why that profession is on the list.
Yeah, which I think is a fair enough question to ask.
In many ways, we can say that both Alex Armstrong and Jonathan Porters had a point. So everyone's happy.
No, we don't need to keep everyone happy. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Resident doctors are demanding a 29% pay rise, but walkouts have been linked to 5 patient deaths in the past. So our lives now firmly on the line. Do doctors have any justification in doing this?
Good afternoon. The headlines at 2:30. 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to vote in the next general election under sweeping reforms. The changes also include automated voter registration and new IDs like UK bank cards and digital driving licences. Sir Keir Starmer and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz have signed the historic Kensington Treaty to strengthen UK-German ties. The deal covers trade, security and migration, including new school exchanges and a crackdown on smuggling gangs behind small boat crossings. 4 Labour MPs have been kicked out for defying the party on welfare issues. One slammed the move as petty, while Downing Street says it's all about loyalty before the summer break. Manchester United fans topped the arrest list last season with 121 arrests, mainly for disorder at Old Trafford. Football-related arrests fell, but banning orders and hate crime incidents reached decade highs. Those are the headlines for now. More news at 3 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's bright today in the far northeast, but elsewhere a lot of cloud and some scattered showers, even some thunderstorms, because we've seen an increase in the humidity and low pressure turn up at the same time. This low moving towards Ireland and bringing some weather fronts with it. Within these weather fronts we've got a lot of cloud and outbreaks of mostly light rain at first, moving through parts of Wales, central England, largely dry to the south, some bright spells appearing. But showers will really get going across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Some thundery downpours here. Chance of some localised flooding because of the intense rain rates. And also a scattered shower or thunderstorm through the Midlands. Very warm though and humid, especially in the south where temperatures will reach the high 20s. Now towards the northeast we keep sunny spells for much of the day and it's a fine evening, apart from Shetland where we do see a lot of cloud cover, but mostly dry. It's in western Scotland where we'll see some heavy rain by evening, and Northern Ireland continues to see some heavy showers and some thunderstorms, most likely those thunderstorms affecting the far north and west. Largely dry across the southern third of the UK with just 1 or 2 showers and clear spells into the evening, but naturally with this humid air in place we're going to see a lot of cloud across the UK, some mist and fog around coasts in the west and the south, and outbreaks of rain moving through Scotland, Northern Ireland, West Wales and the southwest. Staying dry towards the southeast, it's mild and muggy for all of us overnight. We do have some brightness across the Midlands, east and southeast England first thing Friday, and it's going to be a hot day in places with temperatures reaching the high 20s and low 30s widely across East Anglia and the southeast. Elsewhere, a lot of cloud cover, and we've got this unstable air in place, so further showers and thunderstorms, particularly North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England and southern Scotland.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Significant disruptions have impacted various routes today. On the A75 at Annan, both directions remain closed following a serious incident, causing major delays. The M4 westbound is congested due to a vehicle fire, closing one lane. In Gateshead, on the A1 southbound, a broken-down vehicle has led to another lane closure, worsening traffic. Furthermore, in Staffordshire, a vehicle has crossed the central reservation on the M54 westbound, impacting traffic flow. And on the trains, major disruptions are reported on ScotRail and Great Western Railway services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 39 minutes past 2. Now there's much more to cover on Good Afternoon Britain this afternoon, including resident doctors. That's the new name for junior doctors. They are going to be facing a showdown with the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. And I suppose the question is, where on earth is this going to settle? They are demanding a 29% pay rise, but now walkouts over previous strikes have been linked to 5 patient deaths.
Yes, because the BMA has previously said that these strikes would not lead to any, excess deaths, that somehow them all walking out at the same time would have, well, practically no impact on the care that patients receive. But it does seem like that is not the case. Shall we speak to GP and member of the BMA, Dr. Basha Mukherjee? Thank you very much, Basha. Really appreciate your time on this one. They're not going to win this one, are they, the resident doctors?
I'll be very sad if this carries on and the strikes continue to happen, because that's what it would mean. If there's no communication between Wes Streeting and the resident doctors or the BMA, then that could mean that there's going to be 6 months of strikes, which is going to be detrimental for everybody, including the NHS. And it's even more detrimental in terms of the doctors' faith in the NHS. And I fear that could mean more and more doctors are going to leave.
Is this going to happen every year? The resident doctors, formerly known as junior doctors, are going to say, we're not paid enough, so we're going to go on strike, and it's all with a heavy heart, and it's all, oh, we really hope that we'll come to some solution. I mean, it's a bit blackmail, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. The deal was struck in November about full pay restoration, and there was to be a journey towards that. And at the moment, that journey could take 20 years to reach to the levels of 2008, which was the deal by which the strikes stopped.
Resident doctors got a 29% pay rise, more than any other public servant in the most recent round of pay awards. Now, this extra demand for all in one go, a huge extra 22% pay rise to come about at a time when the government is trying to find cuts in disability benefit budgets, has tried to cut winter fuel payments to pensioners when there isn't any money. It does sound extraordinary, does it not?
I completely disagree with the fact that there's no money, because they somehow found the money to fund the strike, to pay for the extra staffing that they needed for the strikes for the last 2-3 years, and they're going to have to do that again. They somehow find the money when it comes to spending it on the PAs, the physicians' assistants, which Wes Streeting has very recently said that they're going to be called assistants, not associates, but they've got the money to pay them better than the junior doctors. I don't agree that there's no money. They seem to find the money when they need it.
Well, it comes out of the
reasons.
rest of... The NHS doesn't get any extra money. It just comes out of other bits of the NHS budget. So we get a worse service overall.
Absolutely, and we need to definitely look at where the NHS is wasting huge amounts of money, including on all the equipment that goes wasted, the gloves and aprons that no one's using
But I
properly
don't see the
anymore.
BMA
There's so much
talking about
wastage.
this, Basha. I only see the BMA talking about how they're not paid enough. You know, if you want to restructure the way the NHS is with its staffing, why not push towards, you know, key policy changes in that area rather than just threatening strike action for pay? Because it is only about pay, this strike.
Well, we have to understand that the NHS right now only is standing on its staff. There really isn't anything else upholding it, whatever there is left of it at the moment. And we all know the state of the NHS. For the last 8 months that we had no strikes, I still had to be apologising every single day to every single of my patients about their delayed appointments and the state of every single type of service within the public sector at the moment. This is happening without the strikes. And of course there needs to be change, but the staff are the only people that are upholding it at the moment, and we're losing that staff. They are going to defect to other countries. They've got better offers elsewhere.
See, that is a decent argument, I think, that the BMA can put forward. What seems to be a sleight of hand, however, is the idea of pay restoration, because the measure that is chosen by the BMA is the retail price index. Now, no other profession measures inflation-adjusted pay against RPI inflation. They measure it against CPI inflation. If we judge any other job in the country against RPI, everyone's had a pay cut since 2008. The average worker has had a pay cut since 2008. But if you measure with CPI inflation, which is the way that every single sector measures how to award pay rises in every other profession apart from what the BMA choose to use, well, then actually it's a lot closer than those numbers that the BMA put out. Is there a bit of sleight of hand, a bit of dishonesty there?
Well, I don't think so, because RPI is used when it comes to, you know, charging interest on our student debt, and we know how much student debt that junior doctors and resident doctors are under. And you have to understand, we're not just talking about pay restoration is just one part. It's going to possibly add a little band-aid to the entire problem of the NHS. The NHS is not a nice place to work in anymore at all, when we're not even proud of the service that we're able to deliver because everything else is falling apart around us. The pay just makes it a little bit easier to deal with, so that you can go home and not have to worry about your bus money, your lunch money. And I kid you not, that is genuinely some of the things that resident doctors...
Would you accept less in terms of pension contributions? So if they took away, you know, some of the pension contributions, which I believe are above 20% is what the government puts in, 23%.
Based on the fact that the pay has been eroded, that has meant that the pension pot is also less than what it would have
no one in the private sector gets 23% put into their pension. I mean, that is very generous.
I would argue that the doctors 15 years ago did. For when you compare to inflation, they earned better and they had better pension contributions. The percentage hasn't changed, but the amount that we're getting paid has changed. Therefore, the pension pot has changed as well.
OK, well, Dr Basha Mukherjee, thank you very much indeed. You're a GP and member of the British Medical Association. So, yes.
Certainly. Well, perhaps you'd like to travel to a country that doesn't have the same model of healthcare that we do. Perhaps you'd like to travel to a country that enjoys a social insurance model of healthcare, where everyone gets equal access right to healthcare, but it's run in a bit more of an efficient way.
Don't get to the weather.
Well, maybe you'd like to check the weather in Europe then.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Lots of hot, strong sunshine around the Mediterranean at the moment. A few showers are possible in Sicily and inland over Turkey. We may just see one or two showers. Most of the coast here dry and sunny. Much of the Greek islands also dry, fine and sunny. One or two showers through the spine of Italy, but again, the coast's dry and fine. Northern parts of Spain may see a bit more cloud and a few showers. Quite a brisk wind blowing over the Canaries, but it's going to be hot in Tenerife. Temperatures just dipping a little bit here into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 to 3. Now, the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, has visited Angola in support of landmine clearance.
Yes, the Prince followed in the footsteps of his mother, Princess Diana, who walked through the same minefield back in 1997.
It's all fire!
28 years later, and they're still clearing those mines. But in other royal news, today marks Queen Camilla's birthday as Her Majesty turns 78.
Yes, this new photograph you could see of the Queen at her private Wiltshire home has been released to mark the occasion. We also had some gun salutes in her honour to celebrate, because why not? It is her 78th. We're joined now by the royal expert and biographer Ingrid Seward. Now, Ingrid, just to start on Prince Harry being in Angola. Now, I have seen people saying out there, I think there was a piece in the Daily Mail I read, saying that he's chosen not to bring Meghan with him because he needs to very much forge his own path and he wants to rekindle ties with the royal family and all of this. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I think it's quite obvious that he wouldn't want to take Meghan to somewhere that might present danger. He can't say he won't bring her to London and then take her to Angola and walk her through a minefield. I mean, that would really quash any hopes he ever had of bumping up his security. So it's fairly obvious that Meghan wouldn't be there, and he wouldn't want her there. It's not really something you would take either your husband or your wife. It's very much a personal mission, this. And I think he wanted it to be seen as that. He actually has done it before, but he says he's doing it this time to, to bring back, to remind people of the fact that there are still, as you said earlier, there's still landmines there. And, he wants to bring attention to this. And of course, it does bring attention to it. Whether or not it was very set up, I'm sure it was very well organized by their American PRs, but the result is a good result. I mean, it's a brave thing of him to do, and it's very hard to knock him.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that it's all part of his attempts to rekindle too, not only with the memory of his mother, but potentially with his father too. But we'll see how that process goes on. Ingrid Seward, for now, thanks indeed for joining us, royal expert and biographer.
Yes, we have come to the end of our show. So thank you for watching Good Afternoon Britain. It is Martin Daubney up next. Martin, what have you got for us then?
Great show, guys. As ever, we'll be live from Downing Street as Sir Keir Starmer does yet another deal with a European leader. This time, it's Germany's turn. What will we give away in return? Why the Labour Party's votes for 16-year-olds could spectacularly backfire. TikTok is deciding elections. Guess who's got the most TikTok followers? 1.3 million. That man, Nigel Farage. I'll speak to a councillor from Epping who wants an asylum hotel closed down in their area after a spate of sex attacks. And on that point, has the MOD endangered British women by importing thousands of unvetted asylum seekers from Afghanistan who are 22 times more likely to commit sex crimes versus Brits? That's all going on today's show, 3 till 6. But first, here's your wonderful weather forecast.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Although it's cloudy out there for many of us, it's warm and humid, and there's the chance of heavy showers in some places, although many places are escaping largely dry. The brightest skies expected for northeast Scotland, as well as some southern and southeastern parts during the rest of the afternoon and into the evening. Elsewhere, a lot of cloud cover. Spells of showery rain moving through Scotland and Northern Ireland. Chance of a few thundery downpours, some intense rain rates. But elsewhere, it's mostly dry as we head into the night time. Clear spells for much of England and East Wales, and feeling muggy once again. An uncomfortable night for sleeping, with temperatures holding up in the mid or even high teens. We start off Friday with a lot of cloud cover once again and some mistiness around western and southern coasts. But inland there'll be some sunshine, a few dribs and drabs of rain for southwest England into Wales, some heavier and more persistent rain moving through North Wales, northwest England. Crossing Scotland at this time, brighter conditions following for western Scotland and Northern Ireland, but still with a few showers. And it's going to feel a little fresher in the far northwest, but not a great deal fresher. Meanwhile, the heat and humidity continues to climb across central and southeastern parts of England. In fact, it's going to be a hot day through the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast. High 20s, low 30s in places, that heat and humidity combining to lead to thunderstorms, particularly for northeast England. Over the North York Moors, for example, we could see some very heavy rainfall later in the day. Look at the temperatures. High 20s, low 30s in many places towards the southeast. Feeling a little fresher, as I mentioned, towards the west and the northwest. Areas of cloud then moving through, and there's the chance of some further thunderstorms moving up from northern France to become extensive across eastern parts of the UK as we begin the weekend. Further thundery showers arriving from the west later.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash. So make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 253 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Should we be paying more for the BBC, do you think?
Yes, in the short term. It's for a cost of a cappuccino a week. You don't only get all the television channels, you get all the radio channels, local news, you get the websites, you get World Service, a significant amount of that. You've got a vast range of things. It's not just a television licence. And the BBC licence fee, in real terms, has gone down about 40% in 15 years. What I think we need is two things. One is an immediate increase, significant increase, so we stabilise the situation.
Go on, how much, Roger? What's the fee?
Hold on.
Well, tell me how much.
Then, secondly, hold on. We need to have a proper debate publicly about whether we want public service broadcasting, how we want to deliver it, and how we want to pay for it. The BBC has cut as much as it can. We should now have a public debate about what we want.
OK. All right, the BBC's cut as much as it can. I mean, grief. I would love to try to see the BBC try to operate on the kind of budget.
I thought you were chairman, objective chairman here. It was a head-to-head with this lady, and you were going to be an objective chairman.
Yeah, well, you decided not to answer any of my questions. But anyway, June, I'll put this one to you. Well, what do you think about the money?
Yes.
June, what do you think about the money being paid for the BBC? Should we pay more?
In 2020, you lost 80